Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto takes Kisame's sword part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. It was a warm summer's night in Konohagakure, and running down the darkened streets of the market district we find a mob of villagers, at least 40 strong, several of their numbers being shinobi and kunoichi. And what was this mob doing, you may ask? They were chasing a small boy around the age of 5 or 6. Please no, I don't want to die, said the boy as he ran. This boy was none other than Naruto Uzumaki, son of the late Red Reaper Kushina Uzumaki and late Yellow Flash Minato Namikaze, and the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. It's for that reason alone that the mob of villagers were chasing the boy. None of the members of the mob believed he was that. Get back here, Damon, yelled one of the members of the mob. With that, the young boy ran faster. Naruto, looking back and seeing the mob was further back than he figured, Naruto then ducked down an alleyway, before quickly hiding behind a dumpster. The blonde rather quickly and with practiced ease slowed his breathing, trying to hide his presence. "We know you're there, you little bastard," came a voice from the end of the alleyway. Naruto foolishly looked out from behind his dumpster, only for the eyes of all of the mob members to lock onto him. "Nowhere left to run, demon," spat a man with a sadistic smirk crossing his face. Out of fear, Naruto tried to move further away from the mob, only to realize it was futile, and he began to cry, which enraged the mob further at the idea of the demon trying to act human. In their rage, they failed to notice the alley growing colder and colder until part of the alley began freezing over, and just before the mob was attacking Naruto, the ice that was on the walls shot out in large spikes, impaling all of the villagers. Naruto, who had his eyes shut tight and his hands up in a defensive position, heard a sickening squelch sound, and opened his eyes as a warm liquid hit his face. The scene before him horrified the young boy, who threw up what remained of his dinner before standing up and stumbling out of the alley. "I can't take this anymore," muttered the boy, running home. Naruto's apartment. Naruto burst into his house and quickly walked into his room and grabbed a bag and put it on his bed, before walking around the small space of his apartment, to his cupboard where he grabbed out all of his clothes, to his kitchen where his instant ramen was, to his lounge room where he flipped his couch over, before reaching for one of 3 floorboards that was loose. Pulling them up, revealing a small gap where all of Naruto's important possessions lay, his toad wallet which had all of his money. A case which Naruto opened and pulled out the object which lay within, his only weapon, a compound bow. He only had it for hunting, so he didn't need to eat only ramen. Next within the gap was his quiver with 40 arrows in it, with a vacuum seal at the bottom preventing any of the arrows from coming out without an application of chakra. And lastly was a necklace. He was told it was the only thing he had with him when he was put in the orphanage. The necklace was a red circle with a black spiral within. Naruto looked at it for a moment before putting it on. Naruto, after putting the floorboards back and flipping the couch back, slung the quiver over his shoulder and pocketed his wallet and picked up his bow before walking into his room, making sure he had all he needed in his bag. He strapped it to his back before walking out to the kitchen, where he quickly wrote a note for his adoptive grandfather, before once more leaving his apartment, before then heading to the gates. At the gates, Naruto found himself sitting on the roof of a building nearby the gates, looking down at the guards who were both asleep. Naruto rolled his eyes at the pair of them before dropping from the roof and running out of the gates, not to return until he felt he was ready. On a road in a forest just outside of Konohagakure, we find a pair of men walking down the road. One man was reasonably tall with waist-length, spiky white hair tied back into a ponytail, with 2 shoulder-length bangs that framed both sides of his face. He also had red lines that ran down from his eyes and wore a horned forehead protector with the kanji for oil. The man wore a green short shirt, kimono, and matching pants, under which he wore mesh armor that showed out of the sleeves and legs of his outfit. His outfit was completed with handguards, a simple black belt, wooden sandals, a red haori with 2 simple yellow circles on each side, and a scroll on his back. This man was Jiraiya, one of Konoha's Sannin. The other man stood just short of Jiraiya's shoulders. He had shortish blonde hair with a pair of bangs framing his face, with the rest tied into a short ponytail. There were, however, red streaks in his hair, and the tips of his bangs were a deep blood red. This man wore a sleeveless blue shirt, over the top of which was a black tattered-ish trench coat. For pants, he wore a pair of blue pants taped down at the ankles. He wore a yellow belt with 3 pouches attached to the back of it. On his feet was a pair of the regular black ninja sandals. On his hands was a pair of fingerless gloves. Staining the young man's skin was tattoos ranging from Arctic foxes to the kanji for ice, which was on his chest, and strapped to his back was a large bandage-wrapped object with a yellow handle with a skull at the tip. This was his sword, Samehada. This man was none other than Naruto Uzumaki, returning to Konoha a little more than 6 years after he left in the dead of night. "Come on, kid, I'm sure Sensei is eager to see you're alright," said Jiraiya. "Yeah, I just hope the rest of the villagers aren't as eager," said Naruto in a flat tone as the two walked to the gates. "Don't worry, kid, They won't touch you while I'm around, and we timed your return just so that this time tomorrow you should be a ninja, so should they lay a hand on you, you're allowed to use whatever means you deem necessary to defend yourself, and they can't stop you," said Jiraiya. "Thanks, Aji-san," said Naruto, looking up at his godfather with a smile. Yes, the young blonde knew who his parents and godparents were. When Jiraiya found him a little over 6 months prior, he had told him who they were under the promise that he not reveal it to anyone else until he reached at least Chunin. The two men walked through the gates and simply signed themselves, and seeing as both gate guards were asleep, that made Naruto roll his eyes. It seemed they hadn't upped security since he fled 6 years ago. The two men quickly walked towards the Hokage Tower. It seemed the villagers recognized Naruto, but the blonde didn't care one little bit. He was getting annoyed at the glares he was getting, so just as the two men entered the market district, Naruto started shooting glares that could freeze the fires of hell. They were so cold at anyone who glared at him, that made all of the villagers stop. The two men quickly made it to the Hokage Tower, and instead of using the door, Naruto decided to run up the wall of an adjacent building before backflipping and slipping straight through an open window, landing on the floor beside the Hokage's desk. Jiraiya decided against following Naruto's lead for fear of breaking through the window, and simply jumped to the roof of the building. Naruto backflipped off and then jumped onto the window before climbing through, only to see Naruto smirking and Hiruzen's mouth agape. "Look who I found, sensei," said Jiraiya, eerily calm as he stepped into the room, making Hiruzen jump and look at his student. "My godson, who I was told was dead, I found him wandering the streets of the capital of the Land of Fire," said Jiraiya in same eerily calm manner. "Now Jiraiya, calm down, there's a perfectly good explanation," said Hiruzen, sweating bullets. "Ero-san," said Naruto, distracting his godfather from his task. "Oh, right before you go on, sensei, Naruto is to be put into the genin class that's taking their exams tomorrow," declared Jiraiya. Hiruzen quickly nodded. "Thanks, Gigi," said Naruto with a grin. "I'll see you later, Aji-san," said Naruto, leaping through the open window onto the roof opposite the tower before taking off by rooftop towards the Hokage Mountain. Next morning, Academy. Naruto walked down the hallway towards the classroom he was told he needed to go to by his godfather after apparently beating the Hokage up for lying to him about Naruto's fate, Jiraiya having been told Naruto perished in the Kyuubi attack. 222, here it is," said Naruto, sliding the door open to see a grand total of 3 people in the room. One was a Chunin with a scar across his nose, with black eyes and dark brown hair tied into a fanned-out ponytail. The second was a boy sitting in the back of the room. He had spiky dark brown hair, with a pair of glasses leaving the boy's eyes undistinguishable. The last was a boy with dark blue hair spiked up into roughly shape of a duck's ass, and he had charcoal black eyes. "Take a seat," said the Chunin. Naruto nodded and walked up to the very back desk closest to the window and pulled Samehada off his back, sitting it next to him before take the seat next to the window. The blonde then kicked back and looked out of the window. Naruto watched as the classroom slowly began to fill up with students. First was a boy with spiky brown hair, with slits for pupils in his otherwise bare eyes, and a dog riding his head. His cheeks bore a pair of red fang-like marks. The next student caught Naruto by surprise, nothing to do with her short dark blue hair or her pupilless white eyes. No, it was the fact that she saw him, and walked straight up to him. Hello, why you might not remember me, BB, but about 6 years ago you saved me from some BB bullies," said the girl, unknown to either the young blonde or the blue-haired girl, making the boy with the dog raise his eyebrows. "That's him, that's where I know him," thought the boy. "Yes, I remember," said Naruto, raising an eyebrow. "IW wanted TT to say thank you," stuttered the girl. "Oh, no problem," declared Naruto with a smile before looking away from the girl, who promptly nodded and walked over to the seat next to the dog boy. Next people to enter the room were a pair of boys. One was a lanky boy with black hair tied up in a fanned-out ponytail and brown eyes. The boy had a lazy air about him. He was talking with the second boy as the two of them entered. The second boy was a larger boy with light brown hair, black eyes, and a pair of swirls on his cheeks. He had a bag of chips in his hand and ate with a quick speed as the two of them walked up the stairs and took a pair of seats at the table next to Naruto's. Then other children just started pouring into the room, but by this point Naruto had just tuned them out and started reading a book. His attention was however drawn back when he heard what could only be described as a stampede outside the classroom. "I'm going to when I know pig," roared a female voice. "Like hell you are, Foriad," declared another voice. Naruto snapped his book shut, interested to see what the two voices were arguing about. Just then the door was just short of ripped off its roller, and in slipped a pink-haired girl. Suck it, I know pig, I get 2 sit next to Sasuke and screamed the shrill female voice, the owner of which was dancing around. "Really, they were fighting over a seat?" questioned Naruto, looking down as a girl with bluish eyes and platinum blonde hair walked. "What was that?" screeched the girl, glaring at Naruto. "Why, Sakura, shut up, you yelling is hurting my ears," said the dog boy, drawing the pink-haired girl's attention to him. Who asked you, dog breath, spat the girl. Alright everyone, let's just calm down, you two take your seats, declared the Chunin. The two girls quickly took the previously unoccupied seats next to the duck-but-haired boy. In case any of you missed it, we have a new student joining us for the exam, said the Chunin, motioning to Naruto. How come he can just join on the day of the exams? I thought it was compulsory to attend classes, asked Duck, but in an annoyed tone. Training outside of the village for years will do that, and the Sannin vouching for my skills doesn't hurt either, said Naruto somewhat sarcastically. This caused the boy to turn back to Naruto and glare at him. Spin on it, said Naruto, flipping the guy the bird. The glare only intensified. Alright, you two, break it up, we have a test to begin, said the Chunin as another Chunin walked into the room holding a stack of papers. He began handing all of them out. Once all of the papers were handed out, the first Chunin spoke once more. Alright, turn over and begin, said the man. Naruto flipped the paper over and began reading the questions. This is what they want Genin to know. It's fucking pathetic, thought Naruto. Damn, this place has gone downhill since I last saw one of these tests, spoke a feminine voice inside Naruto's head. I didn't wake you, did I, Akane-chan? Asked Naruto. No, I woke up a while ago and now I'm sussa bored, spoke the voice. You and me both, Akane-chan, replied Naruto, his hand on auto-PLA writing the answers to the questions. Why don't you come in here and we can entertain each other, slurred the voice in a sexy tone. Arrow Fox, muttered Naruto, looking back at the paper in front of him. Oh look, a question that's slightly harder, thought Naruto. Why don't you summon here so I can make you hard, spoke the voice in his mind. Will you please just not? Asked the irate blonde. Oh please don't pretend you don't love it, declared the voice. Why did I even agree to that deal? Questioned Naruto. Because from it you got a summoning contract and free use of up to 2 tails of my yukai, declared the voice in his head. And if I'd known how much of a perv you are, I would have thought more seriously about the deal, countered Naruto. Oh Naruto-kun, you wound me, so why must you hurt me in such a way? Questioned the voice dramatically. Oh, stop being a drama queen, said Naruto. His mind was then assaulted by an image of a woman with palish skin, long white hair with a pair of fox-like ears on top of her head, light blue eyes with slitted pupils, 9 fluffy tails, and dressed in a white kimono, pouting. That was me, Naruto-kun, said the voice in a baby voice tone. You're a sweet girl, I'm sure you can forgive me, said Naruto. The owner of the voice was feeling thankful that Naruto couldn't see her or her colossal blush. It was at this point Naruto finished the test, quickly putting his pen down. He flipped the paper before putting his head down to take a short nap. Alright everyone, pencils down, test time is over, said the scared Chunin. Okay, now we're going to take a break so I can grade you papers, so everyone outside and hand me your tests on your way out, said the man. Slowly but surely everyone in the room stood up and walked out of the classroom, handing the Chunin their papers on the way out. Naruto waited until everyone else had gone before picking up Samehada, then walking down and placing his test on the Chunin's desk and walking out of the classroom and outside, where instead of joining the rest of the class, Naruto walked over to the nearest tree and simply jumped up onto the lowest branch, pulled Samehada off his back, putting it on his lap before leaning back against the tree trunk before closing his eyes. "Do you fight me?" came a voice Naruto recognized from the class he joined. Naruto just ignored the voice. "You up in the tree, I'm talking to you," said the voice, making the blonde open his eyes and look down at the duck-but-haired boy glaring at him. "Go away," said Naruto. "I said fight me," ordered the boy. "Leave me the hell alone, you're not worth my time," said Naruto, yawning. "I said fight me right now, and while you're at it give me that sword. A worthless peasant like you doesn't deserve a weapon like that," said the boy. Naruto stood up and put Samehada on his back before a small snowstorm kicked up around him, and then he was gone, making Duck but Growl having to look for him again. Naruto now sat on the railing on the roof of the academy, looking down on the kids in the yard all running around like idiots. Half an hour later, the Chunin from the class walked out of the building, evidently having finished marking the tests. "Alright you lot, to the kunai range," called the Chunin. Naruto waited until everyone was around a corner before dropping from the roof and followed behind the group stealthily to the kunai range, where he stood far enough away none of the class would notice him excluding the Chunin, but was close enough to hear the explanation. "Alright everyone, this is a test of your aim. You will each be given 5 kunai. Not hitting a target will result in no points. The outermost ring will be 1 point all the way down to the center ring being worth 10 points, said the Chunin. "Bonus points will be allocated if you hit the targets from further away," declared the Chunin. "Do we have to use kunai, or is this a test of true aim?" questioned Naruto, startling some people. "What are you asking to use?" questioned the Chunin. In a puff of smoke a compound bow appeared in Naruto's hand. "This," declared Naruto. "A bow?" Yes, that's an acceptable substitute, said the Chunin, getting a nod from Naruto. Is there anyone that wants to go first? Asked the Chunin. Duckbutt raised his hand. Alright, Sasuke, you can go first, said the Chunin. Sasuke walked back until he was about 30 meters from the targets, pulling out 5 kunai, before throwing all 5 at once towards the targets, all bar one hit dead center, and the last was off just enough that it was in the second from the center ring. Good job, Sasuke. 49 points plus another 30 for distance gives you 79 points, said the Chunin. Sasuke strode forwards arrogantly. Beat that, Blondie, declared Sasuke as he passed Naruto, who raised an eyebrow. Sure, said Naruto with a smirk, as Sasuke collected his weapons. So anyone want to go next? Asked the Chunin. Naruto raised his hand. Alright, Naruto, you're up, said the man. Naruto turned around and walked towards the gates of the academy grounds. To everyone's surprise, he walked out of the grounds, crossing the street into an alley where he walked halfway up the wall where he stood and faced back at the academy. Everyone's head snapped to the target as an arrow hit dead center of the target, and before any comment could be made, a second arrow split the first from nock to tip, then another, and another, and another. Show off, declared a voice in Naruto's head. You always like when I show off for you, replied Naruto. It took the time for Naruto to return for Iruka to come to his senses. Well done, Naruto, perfect 50 for aim and the max of 100 bonus points for distance, said Iruka. Naruto nodded and pulled his arrows out of the target before walking back to the shocked crowd of genin hopefuls. Kiba, you can go next, said the Chunin, snapping the kids out of the daze. An hour later. The group had finished with the target practice portion of the exams and had now moved on to the taijutsu portion, which was a simple task of either lasting 5 minutes in the ring with the Chunin or landing one decent hit on him. However, the Chunin fighting wasn't the Scarface Chunin, it was his white-haired friend. So far, the platinum blonde and pink-haired girls had barely lasted 5 minutes. The girl who thanked Naruto scored a hit within a minute despite her nervousness. The dog boy landed a hit within the second minute. The chubby boy landed a good hit in under a minute. The lazy pineapple-headed boy lazily avoided all attacks for the 5 minutes. The cloak sunglasses boy scored a punch in under half a minute, as did Duckbutt, and finally it was Naruto's turn. Alright, Naruto, you're up, said the scared Chunin. Naruto stepped into the ring. He could already see the Chunin was acting less lax, closing the openings in his stance. Great, one of the bastards who thinks I'm you, Akane-chan, muttered Naruto. Kick his ass, Naruto-kun, and I'll give you a reward, said the voice in Naruto's head. The only reward I need from you is to see your beautiful smile, responded the blonde, once more making Akane glad Naruto couldn't see her. And begin, called the Scarface Chunin. The white-haired Chunin immediately charged at Naruto before throwing a punch at the boy, who leaned back into a bicycle kick, hitting the Chunin in the chin, knocking his head upwards. Naruto landed the flip on his 2 hands, and then in a blink of an eye he shot both of his feet forwards and buried them in the Chunin's gut with enough force to force the man back and out of the ring. Well done, Naruto, stuttered the Chunin. Naruto simply stood up and smoothed out his trench coat before walking back over to the students. Alright, all of you head back inside for the ninjutsu portion of the exam, said Iruka. The students all slowly made their way back inside, all taking their seats again, before the Scarface Chunin walked into the room. Alright, we will call you one by one into the other room where the ninjutsu portion of the test will be held, declared Iruka. And first up we have Shino, said the Chunin, walking out with coat and glasses boy following closely behind. An hour later. Naruto sat in his seat at the back of the room. He had spent the time analyzing the people in the class. Most were unimpressive, more than likely to die on the first mission out of the village. There were few that had caught his attention. Dog Boy was one. He, from what Naruto had seen, would make for a reasonable sparring partner if he were paired up with another. The ones that Naruto thought could fill that hole were the Apology Girl and the Glasses Boy. Duckbutt maybe, but the blonde just knew. The two of them would never get along, and more than likely the Duckbutt idiot would say something stupid, planting a huge target on his head with the bullseye right between the eyes, and Naruto always hit the bullseye. The lazy kid struck Naruto as interesting company, as did the fat boy, but he felt he should wait until he was put on a team before trying to become friends with anyone. Naruto had watched as one by one people left the room, and after a few moments all of them had returned with a headband somewhere on their persons. Finally, after an hour of waiting, Iruka poked his head through the door. Naruto, you're up, said Iruka. Naruto nodded and strapped his sword to his back before walking out of the classroom and over to the next door one, where he found within Iruka the silver-haired Chunin who was scowling at him, and then several more Chunin. Alright, Naruto, we need you to perform a Kawarimi no Jutsu, said Iruka. Naruto nodded, and then in a puff of smoke he was gone and replaced with a log, and then in another puff of smoke he was back. Good, next henge, declared Iruka. Naruto nodded, and again in a plume of smoke he was gone, this time replaced with a man some of the Chunin were familiar with but only due to his reputations in bingo books. The man standing before them was the monster of the hidden mist Kisame Hashigaki, and again once more Naruto was back in a plume of smoke. Good work, Naruto, although I do have to ask why Kisame Hashigaki? Questioned Irika. That is nobody's business but my own, declared Naruto, not really wanting to reveal to the Chunins he had been trained personally by Kisame, before the man's untimely passing, hence where Naruto got Samahata from. It's not that he was ashamed of his tutelage under the monster of the mist, far from it, he just felt they didn't need to know. Fair enough. Alright Naruto, finally a bunshin jutsu, said Irika. Naruto once more nodded, however this time he did some hand signs, however the signs themselves were unusual. Kori bunshin no jutsu, ice clone jutsu, said Naruto as the air near him froze into a solid form, creating an exact copy of the blonde. Irika's jaw dropped at the blonde's display. WWW, well done Naruto here, stuttered Irika, holding out a black-clothed headband which Naruto quickly took and tied around his forehead before walking out of the room and back to the classroom. Several hours later. It was now early evening, about 8:30, and Naruto was walking back to his godfather's place. The two of them had gone out to Ichiraku Ramen for a congratulatory dinner for Naruto passing his test, Naruto having stayed longer than Jiraiya to catch up with the father-daughter duo who owned the stand. Naruto was now on his way home. The blonde walked past the Hokage tower when out of the corner of his eyes he spotted signs of movement. Turning his head towards the movement, he spotted the silver-haired Chunin from his test earlier. However, he was trying to be stealthy and on his back was a scroll. He was currently jumping towards the front gates of the village. Naruto narrowed his eyes and jumped to a nearby roof before following the man. Naruto took a careful look at the scroll on the Chunin's back and his eyes narrowed once more. It was the scroll of seals, something no Chunin should be in possession of. His eyes narrowed further when the man bolted straight out of the gates past the two sleeping Chunin gate guards. Naruto growled at the laziness of the two men before following the Chunin. What's a genin like you gonna be able to do to me? Questioned Mizuki, arrogantly glaring down at Naruto, clearly forgetting the beating Naruto dished out not hours ago. You wanna see fine, declared Naruto, ripping his blade off his back and leaping forwards at the silver-haired Chunin who pulled one of the two Fuma shuriken off of his back to block the blade. Naruto swung Samahata down on the giant shuriken. Mizuki expected the blade to be stopped by his giant shuriken, but no. Naruto's strength had greatly increased from their spars and the shuriken was forced out of Mizuki's hand lest it break his hand. That is not the weapon. I was holding back most of my strength during our spar, Mizuki. I didn't want to cripple a comrade no matter their opinion of me, but now I know you're a traitor, I can go all out, declared Naruto, a smirk crossing his face, sitting the sharkskin blade on his shoulder. Mizuki was about to speak only for Naruto to hit him in the gut and with the Samahata, and at the same time Samahata sucked out some of his chakra. What the hell did you do to me? Growled Mizuki, clutching his slightly cut stomach. Naruto said nothing but ran forwards, one hand around Samahata's handle, the other clouded by an icy mist. Mizuki flipped back to avoid the blade of Samahata, however he landed within range for Naruto to lunge forward with his mist-covered hand to grab his arm, making the temperature of the limb to drop. Let go of me, growled Mizuki, kicking Naruto, who jumped back to avoid the attack. Fine, you wanna be like that Kirigakyu no Jutsu, ninja art hidden mist jutsu, called Naruto, mist forming around the area hiding him from Mizuki's sight. Where are you, demon? Ordered Mizuki, looking around for the blonde. Mizuki felt extreme pain form in his back, causing him to drop to the ground screaming. Alright, I was going to toy with you, but now I'm going to murder you, roared Mizuki as he pulled out a bottle of liquid which was quickly uncorked, and he downed the contents in one gulp. Mizuki then stood up as the wound on his back began to stick itself back together as Mizuki's chakra skyrocketed while also becoming a vile inhuman chakra. Mizuki's body began growing hair all over, turning him into what looked like a bipedal tiger. Really, this guy had to be working for Orochimaru, didn't he? Muttered Naruto, concealed by his mist as he watched the transformation. Naruto jumped forwards to once more slice at Mizuki with Samahata, but the tiger man ducked below the strike. Ha, not so tough now are you, you little fuuuccccckkkkk, said Mizuki, ending in a scream as Naruto slammed his mist-coated hand into Mizuki's chest, freezing the immediate area before slowly spreading out as Mizuki fell to the ground dead as Naruto literally froze his blood and heart. A little over the top for you, Naruto, came the voice of Akane. That was a modified curse mark, there's no telling what he could have done, replied Naruto. The blonde then walked over to the downed Chunin and picked him up before throwing him and the scroll over his shoulder before walking back into the village. The blonde walked towards the Hokage tower. It took longer than normal, but not by much. Ignoring the secretary who was nose deep in work anyway, Naruto walked up the stairs only to see the doors of the Hokage's office shut. Who would steal the forbidden scroll? Questioned a voice from within. Naruto opened the door and stepped inside, where all eyes fell on him. I believe you may be looking for this, Hokage-sama, said Naruto, throwing the scroll to the aged leader. How did you come by this, Naruto-kun? Asked Hiruzen. I was walking home past the tower, and I saw this little shit, said Naruto, gesturing to the body slung over his shoulders. Doing some shady shit, I mean shady even for ninjas, so I followed him. When I noticed the scroll strapped to his back, I caught up and engaged him. After disabling him, I returned here to return the scroll to you, said Naruto. Well done, Naruto, you will be given B rank pay for this. Leave the traitor and you are dismissed. Remember, you are expected to be at the academy tomorrow by 8, said Hiruzen, getting a nod from the young blonde. Naruto dropped the traitor before turning on his heels and leaving the room. Street. Naruto was walking down the street once more on his way home when he spotted something out of the corner of his eyes. The blonde walked over to an alleyway when at the end of the alleyway he saw something that made his ice cold blood boil. Halfway down the alleyway there were two men standing there, and between them was a woman who, from the looks of it, was drunk and drugged at the same time. Both men were slowly undressing the purple-haired woman. Just relax, Snake, or we'll make this fun for you, declared one man, pulling down the woman's skirt, while the other man fondled the woman's tits. You two need to learn to respect women, said a voice from behind the two men before both were quickly knocked out, just as the woman passed out as she fell to the ground, only to be caught by Naruto just before she hit the ground. That's when his eyes locked on a mark on her neck. Akane-chan, I need your help, said Naruto in his mind. Small amount of yukai coming up, declared the voice from in Naruto's head. That's when he felt a warm chakra flood into his system before he put the woman down on the alley floor and quickly changeling chakra to his finger he drew an intricate Fuinjutsu matrix which centered on her neck. That should about do it, muttered Naruto to himself. Fuin, seal, said Naruto, placing his hands on top of each other over the mark on the woman's neck. The area around the mark began to warm up quite a bit, as the Fuinjutsu matrix all crawled towards the woman's neck. Once the entire matrix had crawled up onto the woman's neck, Naruto removed his hands and the mark on her shoulder was gone. Naruto smiled. I hope this helps you, miss, said Naruto as he did what he should have done first, and pulled up her skirt. Alright, now what to do with you two? Questioned Naruto, turning around to face the attempted rapists. I'll deal with you in a while, muttered Naruto as he tied them up together in ninja wire before once more picking up the unconscious woman, who snuggled closer to him as he jumped to the roof of one of the nearby buildings before heading to the hospital, hoping to just leave her outside, knowing they wouldn't treat her if she was brought in by him. As Naruto jumped, his mind floated back to the two men tied up in the alleyway, thinking of suitable punishments. Without even noticing Naruto was at the hospital, quickly dropping to the ground, Naruto stealthily walked up to the doors and gently placed the woman down before jumping back to a roof across the street, just watching, making sure the woman was taken into the hospital. Fortunately, within moments of getting into a good viewing position, the purple-haired woman was taken inside. Naruto nodded to himself and began his trek back to the tied-up men, still trying to think of a punishment. Oh, that's an evil idea, muttered Naruto as an idea popped into his head. You sneaky little, that is evil, came the voice from inside Naruto's mind just as Naruto dropped into the alleyway with a sadistic smirk plastered on his face. He picked up the two men and quickly ran to the TNI department headquarters before pulling out a piece of paper and writing something on it before putting it in the wire used to tie the men up before knocking on the doors and running. Within a moment, a man with a heavily scared face wearing a black trench coat and bandana opened the door before looking down at the two men before a smirk spread across his face. You know all the secrets of IWA? Ha, I doubt it, but someone has to have a good reason for bringing you here. Let's find out what it is, said the man, reaching down and yanking the two men up by the wire that bound them. The next morning, one Anko Mitarashi sat up in fright only to notice she was in the hospital. She absent-mindedly ran her hand over her neck, only to notice something. It's gone, said Anko, her eyes shooting open wide as she ran her hand over where her curse mark used to reside. She jumped up and ran over to the nearest reflective surface and made sure she was right. It was then Anko heard the door open. She turned around and saw a woman with long black silky hair and blood-red eyes. This woman was Kurina Yuhi, one of Anko's oldest friends. Nai-chan, it's gone, it's finally gone, said Anko excitedly, running up to her friend. What? What's gone? Questioned Kurinai, never seeing her friend this excited. Anko pulled her shirt aside, showing Kurinai her neck. That fucking cursed hickey, declared Anko. Kurinai gasped and traced her finger along Anko's neck where the curse mark used to be. Who removed it? Questioned Kurinai. I have no idea. Last thing I remember last night is almost getting raped again when someone saved me, but I need to find whoever got that fucking mark off me. I need to thank them, muttered Anko, looking down. At the academy, Naruto sat at the back of the classroom. The last of the ninja had entered the room, and the bell had gone. Alright people, I will now reveal the Kunoichi and Shinobi Rookies of the Year, said Iruka with a smile, looking out over the genin who were all looking at him with all of their attention. Okay, for Kunoichi of the Year we have Hinata, said Iruka, giving a moment for everyone to clap for the shy Hyuga heiress. Good job, Hina-chan, said the dog boy from beside the blushing girl. Thanks, Kiba, muttered the girl. All right, everyone settle down, said Irika, and in an instant the entire class became deathly silent. Now for the shinobi of the year we have Naruto, said Irika, drawing the blonde's attention down to the front. The class was silent for a moment before the dog boy began clapping, followed by Hinata, the dark coat boy, the lazy boy, and the swirly-cheeked boy. Naruto bowed a bit with an awkward smile. Okay, everyone, now on to the bit I'm sure you've all been waiting for, team placements, said the Chunin. The class burst into whispers. Naruto just looked at the genin around the room before rolling his eyes before putting his head on the table, tuning out everything until his name came up. Team 7 Naruto Uzumaki, said Irika, making Naruto sit up and listen. Kiba Inuzuka and Hinata Hyuga, and your sensei will be Kakashi Hatake, said Irika. Naruto smirked to himself, paired with a clan heir and heiress. Under an A-ranked shinobi he could deal with that. The blonde boy looked to his two teammates who were looking back at him. He nodded to them with a smirk on his face. Kiba smirked back while the Hyuga blushed a bit before nodding back to Naruto. And that's it, you have a lunch break before your sensei will be here to pick you up, said Irika with a smile. Alright, where the hell is this guy? Questioned Kiba angrily, Akamaru barking in agreement. It had been 3 hours since the sensei were supposed to pick up their teams. Naruto, Hinata and Kiba were the only ones still in the room waiting for Kakashi to show up. Naruto, like Kiba, was mad. He was just better at hiding it, and Hinata, well, Naruto could see despite her eyes being closed, her left eye was twitching with anger. Naruto, and come in here, I'll keep you entertained, came Akane's voice from inside Naruto's head, speaking in a breathless tone. Arrow Fox, replied Naruto. You know you love me, spoke the woman. It was at this point, thankfully, the door opened, revealing a silver-haired jonin with a mask covering the lower half of his face and his headband covering his left eye. You three, Team 7? Asked the man, getting a nod from the genin. My first impression of you is you guys are boring. Meet me on the roof, declared the man, disappearing in a swirl of leaves. I don't know about you, but the last 3 hours waiting have made me hungry, said Naruto as he stood up with a thoughtful look on his face before turning to his teammates. Yeah, I could go for some food now, said Kiba, catching on to Naruto's suggestion and agreeing completely. You know what the hell, let's go, said their angry Hyuga teammate before she walked out of the room with her two teammates in tow. The three of them left the academy and headed to Ichiraku Ramen. It only took the trio about 5 minutes to get to the eating establishment. Oh, Naruto-kun, I wondered when you'd stop by today. And who is this? Asked I am as Naruto and his team walked into the ramen stand. I am Nietzsche and these are my teammates Hinata Hyuga and Kiba Inuzuka, introduced Naruto. So what will you have? Questioned I am as the three of them sat down. I'll have the usual, said Naruto. I am nodded and wrote something down on a pad. I'll have the beef ramen, said Kiba. I think I'll have the miso ramen ppp please, said Hinata. I am giggled at the girl and nodded before walking into the back and got started on their meals. With Kakashi. The silver-haired jonin had been waiting on the roof for more than 5 minutes for his genin to show up. He had actually got a good feeling about this group of genin. He figured they might be the first team to ever pass his test. Where the hell are they? Asked Kakashi, peeking over his book at the doorway where he had expected them to come running out of maybe a minute after he had sent them from the class, but they were yet to arrive, and he was beginning to worry. I'll just go see if I can find them, muttered Kakashi, snapping his book shut, creating a shadow clone to leave there in case they showed up while he was away. The silver-haired jonin then walked down the stairs like a normal before making his way to the classroom, where upon opening the door he found the classroom empty. Strange, where could they be? Questioned Kakashi, scratching his head. He then walked out of the academy building. About 2 hours later, Ichiraku Ramen. The genin were sitting at the ramen bar quietly talking, waiting for their sensei to show up. Here you three are, muttered the man as he walked out the flaps of the ramen stand. Why didn't you three come up to the roof like I asked you? Questioned Kakashi. Pay back, declared Naruto, not even turning to face the man. Well, alright, I deserve that. Given we're all here, we might as well get to know each other, so why don't we talk about ourselves? Said Kakashi, taking a seat next to his genin. LLL, like WWW, what, sensei? Questioned Hinata. Names, likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams, that kind of thing, said Kakashi. Alright, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I like ice, snow, my sword Samahata, Arctic animals, ramen, and learning new things. I don't like arrogant people, people who waste my time, traitors, and rapists. My hobbies, well, I don't have too many of those, but I guess training would be a hobby. And my dream, I'm not really sure, I just want to help people in need, said Naruto. Good, Naruto, good, said Kakashi before pointing to Kiba. Alright, I'm Kiba Inuzuka and this is Akamaru, points to Akamaru. I like dogs, meat, my family, my friends, and walking. I don't like cats, loud noises, bad smells, and those who insult my family. My hobbies, well, there's training, walking Akamaru, and hanging out with my friends. In my dream, I want to be the greatest clan head my clan has had, declared Kiba with a grin. Kakashi gave a nod before turning to Hinata. My name is Hinata Hyuga. I like cinnamon rolls, Zensai, my SSS sister, and my FFF friends. I don't like Bibalis, SSS seafood, and the way the main family of my CCC clan treats the BBB branch family. My hobby is FFF flower pressing, and my DDDD dream is to remove the caged BB bird seal and unite the BBB branches of my clan, said Hinata. Good Hinata, although we are going to have to work on that stuttering, said Kakashi. Alright, I guess I should give you lot a little insight into me. My name is Kakashi Hataki. My likes, I have a few. My dislikes, there's a couple of those as well. My hobbies, you lot are too young and innocent for that. And my dream is something again you lot are a little too young for, said Kakashi with an eye smile. Should have expected as much, muttered Naruto, rolling his eyes at his sensei. Alright you lot, tomorrow you three are to meet me at training ground 7 at 7 for a little survival exercise, said Kakashi. Are you going to show up, or are we not going to start this exercise until sundown tomorrow because you came late and we left? Asked Naruto. Fine, spoil sport, make it 10, said Kakashi. And you'll want to have all of your gear, as this won't be just any survival exercise, said Kakashi. What kind of exercise is it, sensei? Questioned Hinata. You don't want to know, trust me, just show up with your equipment, and be ready for a fight, as this exercise has a 66% failure rate, and if you fail you go back to the academy, said Kakashi. What, but we passed the exam, exclaimed Kiba loudly. Did you honestly think that knowing some history, how to aim, how to throw a punch, and 3 jutsu was all you needed to become a ninja? No, that is a test to weed out the ones with absolutely no hope of becoming ninja. This will be your true exam, said Kakashi with an evil glint in his eye, getting up and walking to the exit. Oh, and I wouldn't eat breakfast if I was you, you'll just hurl, declared Kakashi as he stepped out of the stand. Well, I've got to go. I'm just going to say, if you want to pass this test tomorrow, ignore the advice of Kakashi-sensei and eat, said Naruto before he too left the stand. He had places to be, one of which was the Hokage Tower. 5 minutes later, Hokage Tower. Naruto walked into Hiruzen's office, having seen the door open, and ignored the secretary's calls for him to stop. Ah, Naruto-kun, I wondered when I'd see you again, said Hiruzen, his pipe hanging from his mouth as he blew out a breath of smoke. I would like my mother's scrolls on Fuinjutsu, said Naruto very seriously. Hiruzen sat there in deep thought for a moment, and there was no real reason to deny him at least that much. All right, said Hiruzen, standing up and walking over to the pictures of the previous Kage before pulling Minato's off the wall, revealing a safe. All of your parents' belongings were sealed up after their deaths to prevent them being stolen. You'll be given your father's belongings and the deed to your parents' house when you reach Chunin, declared Hiruzen. Naruto nodded as Hiruzen opened safe, revealing 2 scrolls. The Kage pulled out one of the scrolls and handed it to Naruto, who took the scroll with a smile and turned to leave when the door flew open. Prepare to die, old man, today I'm going to take that hat, declared a boy as he ran into the room, only to trip over his obscenely long scarf, falling flat on his face in the process. The boy pushed himself to his knees, rubbing his face before looking around the room. You tripped me, didn't you, declared the boy, pointing an accusing finger at Naruto. You tripped over your scarf, idiot, said Naruto. No, it was you big idiot, said the boy, only for Naruto to yank him into the air by the collar. You tripped on your bloody scarf, you little twit, growled Naruto. Once more the door was ripped open. Put him down, you miscreant, that is the honorable grandson of the Sandaime, said the man to Naruto. The boy just smirked, figuring he was off the hook now. Hookty fucking do, said Naruto sarcastically, looking back at the Jonin before turning back to the kid. Accuse me of bullshit again, and I'll freeze your legs, said Naruto, dropping the kid unceremoniously on his ass before walking out of the room. About an hour later. Naruto was now sitting atop the Hokage monument on his father's head. He had come straight there from the Hokage Tower. Unfortunately, at some stage during the trip he'd gained a follower. Naruto sighed and once more looked over his shoulder towards the box with a pair of eyes poking out of it looking at him. Does he honestly think I can't tell that's him? Thought Naruto. Just scare him off, it's getting a little bit creepy now. He's just been watching you, declared Akane from inside Naruto's mind, and he was half tempted to listen to her and scare the kid off, but all of the ways he could think of either ended up with the kid scarred for life or wounded, and that was something he didn't need. Naruto sighed and rolled up his scroll. He really hadn't wanted to spend the rest of the day in the compound, but there was nothing else Naruto could do, so he stood up and walked to the edge of the stone face of his father, before casually stepping off and falling down. While falling, Naruto shined to his and Jiraiya's house, landing outside before jumping up into one of the trees where he pulled out his scroll and once more began to read. Why you here, Gaki? I'd have thought you'd still be out with your teammates, said Jiraiya. No, we finished after introductions. I went and got Kachan's stuff from Gigi, and then have spent the last couple of hours trying to ignore Gigi's grandson who was just short of stalking me, said Naruto nonchalantly. Well, good for you, declared Jiraiya awkwardly before walking back inside. He had lady friends to entertain. Next morning, training ground 7, 10 a.m. Naruto walked up to the training grounds. He was itching to do something, but again he was being followed by a box with eyes. Alright kid, knock it off now, said Naruto without turning around. Damn, you must have some pretty impressive skills to be able to see through my disguise, said the kid as he stood up out of the box. Teach me, ordered the boy. No, I'm not your sensei, not your mentor, not even your friend. Leave me alone, declared Naruto, leveling a chilling glare. The boy jumped up but stood his ground. This has to be a test to see whether I'm worthy of being his apprentice, thought the boy as he stood his ground. Naruto just turned around and left, with the kid now following him. As Naruto walked up to the training ground, he saw both Hinata and Kiba there already. Morning, you two, said Naruto walking up. And morning, and Naruto-kun, said Hinata. Morning, Naruto, who's the brat? Questioned Kiba. I'm Konohamaru, and Naruto's going to be my sensei, said the boy with a grin. And no, I'm not, brat, leave me alone, yelled Naruto, glaring at the boy, his eyes glowing silver as he glared at the boy. Konohamaru decided that at this point it was a good point to leave. Half an hour later. After half an hour of waiting, Kakashi appeared before the three genin in a swirl of leaves. You're late, growled Naruto, Samahata's scales scratching against each other, indicating the sword wasn't happy either. I got lost on the road of life, declared Kakashi, getting a glare from Naruto, whose left hand was engulfed in an icy mist. Alright, it's good to see you're all so eager. I'll just quickly explain the test, and then we can begin, declared Kakashi as he pulled out a pair of bells and held them up. Your objective is to get these bells from me within the next few hours. You have until 1 o'clock to get a bell from me. You may use any means you deem necessary. Those without a bell go without lunch, declared Kakashi, expecting to hear growling stomachs, but to his surprise nothing. Never hurled from training, and I've trained with training monsters, declared Naruto, still glaring at Kakashi. Anyway, the ones who don't have a bell once time is up are sent back to the academy, declared Kakashi, hoping to scare the genin a bit. He got the reaction he wanted from Kiba and Hinata, but Naruto rolled his eyes. But sensei, there are only TT2 bells, stuttered Hinata. To this Kakashi nodded. Yes, only a maximum of 2 of you can pass this test, declared Kakashi with a sadistic grin. And with that bit of information I believe we'll start, said Kakashi, and with that Kiba and Hinata ran off into the forest. Naruto, I said start, said Kakashi, thinking Naruto hadn't heard him. Oh, I heard you quite well, Kakashi, but you've wasted my time, so I'm a little pissed right now, declared Naruto. Before Kakashi could even get another word in, Naruto ran his thumb along his sharpened canine before he quickly flipped through hand signs. Kuchios no Jutsu, summoning jutsu, yelled Naruto, slamming his hand on the ground, creating a plume of smoke from where his hand landed, and as the smoke cleared, a white fox sat there looking around. Naruto-sama, said the fox, meeting Naruto's gaze. Raiko, said Naruto, looking down at the fox. What have I been summoned for, Naruto-sama? Asked the white fox. Naruto simply pointed at Kakashi, who was watching on with a smile on his face under his mask. I would like to wipe the smug grin off his face, declared Naruto. Well, it has been a while since we hunted together, not since that snake's pawn, said the fox. Hayatan Kori Suraisa no Jutsu, Ice Release Ice Slicer Jutsu, called Naruto as the water in the air around him froze into several discs that in an instant flew at Kakashi, who for his credit schooled his features quickly before jumping to the side to avoid all of the discs. However, as he landed, Raiko was on the Jonin in a flash of fur and teeth. Kakashi barely had time to get a kunai out before the fox's teeth were upon him. Naruto meanwhile had finished a short chain of hand signs. Kori Bunshin no Jutsu, Ice Clone Jutsu, said Naruto quietly as a clone formed and ran off into the trees. Are you sure you're right, Naruto-kun? Questioned Akane from inside Naruto's head. Sure? No. Reasonably certain? Yes, replied Naruto as he pulled Samahata into one hand while the other was covered by the icy mist as he charged forwards at Kakashi, who was still holding off the quick Kitsune. Naruto jumped up and over the fox and flipped over, bringing his sword down on Kakashi, who just in the nick of time kicked the fox in the gut, pushing him back enough to bring his kunai up to block Samahata. Naruto brought his icy hand forwards in a claw-like strike to Kakashi's side as the blonde landed on the ground, only for Kakashi to be replaced instantly with a log which froze where his hand hit it. Behind you, said Akane, giving Naruto time to roll to the right to avoid Kakashi, who was in a crouched position with a tiger hand sign. You escaped my Senin Goroshi, 1,000 years of death, This time Naruto, said Kakashi in an overly dramatic fashion. Naruto rolled his eye as he swung Samehada over himself at Kakashi, who jumped out of the way of the blade as it hit the ground. Naruto flipped to his feet only to once more not see Kakashi. Bello, called Akane, making Naruto jump just as a pair of hands burst out of the ground to grab where his ankles were just a second ago. Screw this, said Naruto as he landed on the ground and ran off towards the forest, making a hand sign as he went. Kirigakure no Jutsu, hidden mist jutsu, called Naruto as a cloud of mist formed around the clearing. As Naruto jumped into it, it disappeared from Kakashi's sight. He has more skill than he's letting on, thought Kakashi as he looked into the mist around him before pulling out an orange-covered book and began to read. "Oh Suki, you naughty, naughty girl," giggled Kakashi perversely as he read. In the forest. Naruto's ice clone had gone into the forest, and quickly found Kiba and Hinata, who were both watching the fight in awe. After finding both of them, the ice clone sent them to another clearing to discuss their plan. "What's the deal, Naruto?" questioned Kiba as he saw the original Naruto walk into the clearing. "Let me ask you both something. Have either of you heard about a team from Konoha with only 3 people on it?" questioned Naruto as he walked up to the pair. "And no," stuttered Hinata, while getting a simple head shake from Kiba. "Next question, have you ever heard of a fresh out of the academy beating a Jonin in a fight?" questioned Naruto, getting a head shake from both of his teammates. "Exactly, there's something fishy about this test. Why would the academy put us in teams of 3 only then to knock one of those members out after a day?" questioned Naruto. "The TTT test isn't about the bells?" questioned Hinata. "I think so," said Naruto, nodding. "I think this test is actually about teamwork. The number of bells is to distract us from the real objective of getting the bells," said Naruto. "So you're saying we should work together to get the bells?" questioned Kiba, getting a nod from Naruto. "I agree," said Hinata. Kiba nodded, and Akamaru, who poked his head out of Kiba's jumper, barked in agreement. "So what's the plan, Naruto?" asked Kiba, looking at their temporary leader. Naruto's smirk told the Inuzuka heir whatever he had was good. Back with Kakashi an hour later. "Where are they? They haven't done anything since Naruto escaped," unless though Kakashi, only to be interrupted as Raiko ran at him from the tree line and once more went to bite him in the leg. Kakashi sighed and pulled out a kunai to deflect the fox's teeth. "Getsuga, Fong, passing Fong," called a voice from inside the mist that had yet to recede since Naruto left it, and then out of nowhere 2 twisters joined the fox in charging at Kakashi, who quickly put his book away for a second kunai ready to deflect both twisters and the fox coming at him. However, before even that, a trio of arrows sailed out of nowhere at Kakashi, who quickly deflected the projectiles as they got close, only then to have to jump back as the 2 twisters came at him from his left and right. Kakashi's danger sense was telling him to move, but just as he went to, he felt a sharp pain in his left arm. He turned to see Hinata there with chakra-coated fingertips. Kakashi quickly substituted with a nearby log as the twisters once more changed their course towards him, only to once more have to block the teeth of a fox as Raiko came running up to him bearing his teeth. Then once more arrows came flying at him, however these ones appeared to be made of ice. Then once more he had to jump back as the twisters of Kiba and Akamaru came flying at him, and once more missed. Kakashi then spun around with both kunai to block a strike from Naruto's Samehada. Once the strike was blocked, Naruto jumped back and faded into the mist, and before Kakashi could even move, he felt a sharp pain in his leg. When he looked down, he saw Hinata sliding past him, having hit his legs with her Juken, gentle fist. And before Kakashi could counterattack her once more, Raiko was upon him in a flurry of teeth and fur. Kakashi blocked the teeth with his kunai, however just before he could kick the fox away, he was forced to jump back. "Hayatan Hiryu no Jutsu, Ice-style Ice Dragon Jutsu," called Naruto, freezing the water in the air into the shape of a dragon that flew forwards at Kakashi, making the man jump back from the fox to dodge the ice dragon before both twisters once more came at Kakashi from his left and right, while Raiko and Naruto charged from his front. The silver-haired Jonin took a quick glance behind him, and unsurprisingly he saw Hinata charging forwards with chakra coating her hand. Kakashi kawarimied with a nearby log. However, in the next instant he was surprised when he was once more surrounded by his genin, who charged forwards from clouds of smoke. Kakashi jumped up and delivered a split kick, knocking the 2 twisters away from him, and brought his kunai up to block the powerful downward strike from Naruto with Samehada, while bringing up his kunai to block the fox next to Naruto, and as he landed, Kakashi launched his foot backwards to hit Hinata in the chest, knocking her backwards, before shooting his foot forwards, hitting Naruto in the chest. Naruto flipped backwards away from Kakashi, who was about to follow, when an arrow made once more of ice came flying at him. Kakashi brought up his kunai to block the projectile. However, too late did he realize that there was an explosive tag wrapped around the shaft of the arrow. And just after the silver-haired Jonin deflected the arrow, the tag went off, creating a reasonably large explosion, knocking Kakashi backwards into a tree, and before the Jonin could recover, Naruto snatched the bells from his hip and then jumped back to between his teammates. Excellent work you three, but who will get the other bell, Naruto? Asked Kakashi as he stood up leaning his back on the tree looking at the genin. They can both have the bells, said Naruto, tossing one bell to each of his teammate, who then quickly threw the bells to the ground. No, without you we never would have got them, said Kiba as his bell hit the ground. Why yes yeah the W we all P pass or none of us do, stuttered Hinata as her bell hit the ground. Is that your final answer? Questioned Kakashi, getting a nod from all three genin. Well, congratulations, you three passed, said Kakashi with an eye smile. I told you two it was about the teamwork, said Naruto with a grin, as the two let out the breath they didn't even realize they were holding before rolling their eyes at the bragging Naruto. Congratulations, you three, it's official, we're Team 7, declared Kakashi. It had been about a month since Team 7 had formed, and throughout the month the three genin had been introduced to the wonder of D-rank missions, and as a team had completed around 50 of the damn things. Now standing in the Hokage's office with Hinata holding Tora the cat belonging to Madame Shirjimi, the wife of the fire daimyo, the cat was the bane of Team 7's D-rank experience. At least half of the D-ranks were catching the damn cat, and the cat would always scratch Naruto, Kiba and Akamaru, hence why Hinata was holding the cat, otherwise her teammates might feel the need to slit the cat's throat. Tora-chan, squealed Madame Shirjimi as she entered the room and took her cat from Hinata and squeezed the poor animal tightly. Ha, serves you right, cat, was the shared thought of Naruto, Kiba and Akamaru as the cat screamed from being squeezed tight. Well done, Team 7, well, we have several D-ranks available. A member of the council needs his garden weeded, a nobleman needs his son watched. Tora capturing Tora, said Hiruzen, interrupted by a scream from Madame Shirjimi. No, growled Naruto, interrupting Hiruzen. No? Questioned the aged Kage. No more chores, we're ninja not teenagers desperate for money, declared Naruto, getting a nod from Kiba and Hinata. Well, Kakashi, what do you think, are they ready for a C rank? Questioned Hiruzen, looking at Kakashi. Hokage-sama, you can't be serious, these three have been genin for less than a month, said Iruka, only to stop as he felt the temperature of the room drop. Iruka, shut up, I have been trained for a combined total of 3.5 years by S-rank ninja, and these two have spent their whole lives being trained by at least A-rank shinobi, and we have spent a month training under an A-rank nin who we almost beat the first time we spared. You know nothing of us or our progress, and Hokage-sama, asked Kakashi-sensei. Not you, growled Naruto, glaring at the Chunin instructor, who recoiled slightly at the disrespect and was about to reprimand the genin. He's right, Iruka, these three are now soldiers of the village, not little academy students you need to coddle, and in answer to your question, Hokage-sama, these three have been ready for a month now, said Kakashi. Right, well, I have a C-rank mission that I can send you on, said Hiruzen, pulling out a scroll, tossing it to Kakashi, who unrolled the scroll and quickly read through the contents of the scroll. Alright, you three, we're headed to Takiso, meet at the North Gate in half an hour and pack for a week, said Kakashi. All three of the genin nodded and left the room. Here you go, Kakashi, said Hiruzen, handing Kakashi another scroll, which Kakashi pocketed, before nodding to his leader before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Are you sure about this, Hokage-sama? Questioned Iruka, looking to the elderly Kage. Yes, said Hiruzen simply. Half an hour later at the North Gates. Naruto walked up to see Kiba and Hinata already at the gates, both with backpacks on. Where's your stuff, Naruto? Surely you have to have at least a change of clothes? Questioned Kiba, looking at Naruto. Naruto pulled the neckline of his shirt to the left, revealing part of his tattooed chest. A tattoo of an arrow crossed the scroll tattooed just below the neck. Most of the tattoos on my skin are not purely decorative, most of them cover seals I have tattooed onto my skin. This one holds any and all of my supplies, said Naruto before letting go of his shirt, letting it fall back in place. What kind of S-seals do you have tattooed on you? Asked Hinata, who over the month with Kiba, Kakashi and Naruto she had gradually been getting better with her stuttering to the point it was almost gone now. I mostly have storage seals for various things. I have a summoning tattoo here, said Naruto, motioning to his right arm with a white furred kitsune on it going down to an open mouth on his wrist. Oh, let's see, gravity seals and weight seals, but they're mostly covered by my tats, said Naruto. Truth be told, he had a lot more seals tattooed to his skin. He just was nervous to reveal all of the seals to his teammates, as revealing what some of the seals he had did would bring up questions that he didn't really want to answer. Luckily for Naruto, Kakashi chose this moment to appear. Alright guys, we're headed to Taki, which even going the max speed you guys can go is still about a day and a half, but there's no rush, so let's take a leisurely pace, and we'll be there in 2 days, said Kakashi, getting a nod from the three genin. Alright guys, Delta formation, said Kakashi. The three genin took a triangle formation with Kakashi standing between Hinata and Kiba with Naruto at the front before heading out. Hours later, just as the sun was going down. Alright guys, we can stop here for the night, said Kakashi as he stopped tree hopping. The three young ninja nodded. You guys set up your tents, I'll collect some wood, said Kakashi. I don't need to set up a tent, Kakashi-sensei. I sleep in the open, but I do kinda need to go hunting, said Naruto. Well, if you can bring back enough for everyone, said Kakashi with an eye smile. Sure, but I make no promises. I have no idea what's around here, said Naruto before he then walked into the woods before pulling his bow off his back and formed an arrow of ice that he notched and held at the ready and walked far enough into the forest that a small pulse of Biju chakra would go unnoticed by Kakashi and Naruto's two teammates. Akane, said Naruto mentally. On it, replied the woman before discreetly sending out a tiny pulse of her yukai. Even if she was sending out the smallest amount possible, it was still enough to get all of the information within a kilometer. Alright, you have lots of small birds in the area and even some small creatures, but there's 3 boars 200 meters west, a doe half a click north, and 2 bucks fighting 270 meters to the northeast, declared Akane. Naruto thought about it for a moment before heading towards the 2 bucks, forming another arrow of ice which joined the first, ready to be shot at the fighting bucks. Naruto, as he ran towards his targets, quickly took to the trees and hopped silently towards the area he was told the bucks were. Within moments, Naruto reached the edge of a clearing that the bucks were fighting within, and looking at the creatures, he formed 2 more ice arrows and gently notched them before quietly pulling back the bowstring and taking aim at the 2 animals, hoping to hit each with a pair of arrows. Naruto took a deep breath and steadied his breathing and let the string go, launching the arrows forwards, and before the buck could even stop their fighting, the 2 animals fell to the side as the blood drained out of them. Naruto dropped from the tree and walked forwards, channeling chakra to his left hand. As he did, a knife appeared in a plume of smoke. Naruto knelt down beside the 2 down animals that were good and dead and set about cleaning his kills, doing it here rather than in front of Kiba and Hinata. About an hour later, Naruto walked back into the campsite to see his teammates and sensei sitting around a crackling fire. Did you not get anything? Questioned Kakashi, being first to see Naruto. No, I just thought it would be better to clean the carcass and harvest what was usable away from these 2, said Naruto, motioning to his 2 teammates. Makes sense. So what did you actually get? Questioned Kakashi. I killed a pair of bucks and a pair of boars, said Naruto, unsealing half of the harvested material from said animals, which did include all of the pelts which the meat was lying on. Take as much as you want, I'll share this lot, but the other half is mine, said Naruto. The other 3 nodded. It was understandable. He did kill and clean all 4 of the kills, and the meat from 1 buck and 1 boar was more than enough for all of them, and with that the 4 of them began to cook up the meat over the fire. After everyone had eaten their fill of the meat Naruto provided, and their own food, they sat by the fire quietly. Alright, we have to organize watch shifts, declared Kakashi. I'll keep watch, said Naruto, leaning back, stretching his arms above his head. Alright, Naruto can take first watch, said Kakashi, only to be interrupted. I meant all night, said Naruto. Kakashi turned to Naruto with a raised eyebrow. I've spent almost a month in a constant state of awake before 2 days in a row is nothing, said Naruto. Kakashi shrugged. If you okay with that, then sure, said Kakashi. Naruto nodded before pulling Samehada off his back as he jumped up into the nearby trees. The next morning, as the sun rose on the horizon, so did Konoha's Team 7, or at least Kakashi, Hinata, and Kiba. Naruto was still very much awake from his watch shift. As the sun rose, the 3 Konoha nin packed away their tent while Naruto cooked a fish for each of them for breakfast, the fish caught from a nearby river. After eating, the 4 ninjas set out towards their destination, Taki. Several hours later, after running for hours, the 4 ninja arrived outside the village of Taki. As they walked towards the village, they were greeted by 2 people. One was a man, he had long brown hair and dark eyes. The second figure was a girl who looked to be younger than the genin by a year or 2 and was half hiding behind the man. She had mint green hair and orange eyes. That girl, she got Chome sealed in her, said Akane from inside Naruto's head as the Konoha team walked up to the 2 figures. You sure? Questioned Naruto, shocked to see another container. Absolutely, declared Akane. Hello there, I'm Kakashi, and you must be Shibuki, declared Kakashi, stepping up to the man who nodded to the silver-haired jonin. So you are the team the Hokage sent with his reply, said the man, getting a nod from Kakashi, who pulled out the scroll from his pocket and handed it to the man, who opened it and began to read. Naruto took the opportunity to walk up to the girl. Hello there, Amato-chan, you don't mind if I call you that, right, Nana-chan, said Naruto. The girl looked at Naruto terrified, only then to calm down a bit when she saw his genuine smile at her. And not at all Q&I-san, stuttered the girl as she stepped out from behind Shibuki, who was now looking wide-eyed at the boy while Kakashi was staring wide-eyed at the girl, who stepped forward into Naruto's waiting arms, and the 2 shared a hug and the girl began to sob. Sure, it's all right, Amato, said Naruto soothingly as he ran his hands down her back in a calming fashion. I knew I made the right choice in transferring her to Konoha, muttered Shibuki, but both Naruto and the girl heard the man. Why you transferred me to Konoha? questioned the girl, slightly scared and at the same time looking at him with hope. Yes, and this is the reply from the Hokage accepting the transfer, said Shibuki with a smile down at his surrogate sister, who smiled and ran over to hug him. Thank you, declared the girl, hugging Shibuki. Just promise me one thing, Fuchan, said Shibuki, making Fu look at him. Live happily, he said, and Fu nodded vigorously. Before anything else could happen, a Taki ninja come running up to Shibuki. Shibuki-sama, the village is under attack, said the ninja. Shibuki-sama, the village is under attack, said the ninja. What? Questioned Shibuki, looking at his ninja. Sir, it's Suyin, and he has the help of 3 aim missing Nin. He's saying he'll kill as many villagers as it takes for you to bring him the hero water, said the ninja. Damn it, growled Shibuki, glaring at the ground. Let me help, Shibuki, said Fu. No, we can't have you fight, for the villagers will just as likely attack you as the enemy, said Shibuki. Then let us help, we can't leave our allies out to dry while we're here, said Naruto, stepping forwards, getting a nod from Kiba and Hinata. Kakashi? Questioned Shibuki, looking at the Konoha's team leader. Up to you, Shibuki-sama, said Kakashi. Shibuki then nodded to the Konoha team. Alright, you can help, but you 4 have to keep Fu safe too, alright, said Shibuki. Getting a nod from the Konoha Nin, Naruto pulled Samehada off his back as the 6 people set off into the village. Once they made it into the village, it became apparent how bad Fu's treatment was within the village, as even during an attack on their village the people were glaring at the mint-haired girl. As they ran, Naruto put his open hand on the girl's shoulder. It's okay, Yamato, this time tomorrow we'll be so far away from here that this will all seem like an ancient memory, said Naruto with a small smile. Thanks, Nisan, said Fu with a gentle smile, only to then dodge a rock thrown at her. Get out of here, you damn demon, you're not welcome here, growled the person who threw the rock. Kakashi was forced to smack away another rock that came flying towards Fu. This isn't going to work, Fu. I'm going to make a Kage Bunshin to take you out of here and guard you until we get back, okay? Questioned Kakashi, getting a hesitant nod from the girl. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu, called Kakashi, creating a second one of himself. Kori Bunshin no Jutsu, Ice Clone Jutsu, called Naruto, the ice next to him forming another one of him that followed Kakashi's clone's lead and followed with Fu. She seemed a little scared. I thought it would be for the best, said Naruto as Kakashi looked at him before getting a nod. Alright, you 4, I need to go and get something, said Shibuki, diverting from the path the ninja were following. The Konoha Nin continued running down the street towards the commotion at the center of the village. Shibuki, I'm getting impatient, bring me the hero water or I will start killing these people, yelled a man with spiky brown hair standing in front of a group of people tied up. Naruto growled as he saw the man with 3 others, all 3 from AIM. 1 was a brown-haired woman wearing a semi-revealing outfit. The other 2 were men. One had silver hair and a blue mark running across his nose, while the other had brown hair covered mostly by his bandana headband with a mask covering the lower half of his face. Naruto put down Samehada and pulled his bow off his back and quickly froze the water in the air into 4 arrows, all of which were notched into his bow, which he brought up and aimed down the shaft, and all 4 arrows were aimed at each of the 4 people. Naruto took a deep breath and steadied himself, and then let the arrows go. For a moment all was silent as the arrows flew the several hundred feet towards the ninja, but as they looked like they were going to kill the targets, the arrows were either deflected or shattered. Oh ho ho ho, what do we have here, said the spiky-haired man looking up towards Naruto and the Konoha Nin, who all ducked when they saw the arrows deflected. You 3 go and check it out, ordered the spiky-haired man to his 3 companions, who all nodded and jumped towards the roof. Scatter, you 3, meet back here in 20 minutes, only engage if you have no other option, said Kakashi to his team, who nodded, and all 3 of them, and then Kakashi himself took off in 4 different directions. The 3 former AIM Nin arrived atop the building not a moment later before they saw 3 of the Nin and gave chase. With Hinata. Hinata ran down the streets of Taki thinking of a way to lose anyone who might be on her tail. Just as she rounded a corner, she came face to face with her opponent. The man was one of the 3 ninja. He had brown hair covered mostly by his bandana headband, and his lower face was covered by a Kakashi-esque mask. Well, what do we have here? A Hyuga, an unmarked Hyuga at that. I wonder what Kuma would pay for you, declared the man, making Hinata shiver. Why, you'll have to see. Capture me first, declared Hinata, dropping into her clan's fighting style. With Kiba. Kiba and Akamaru were roof-hopping, trying to avoid the 3 ninjas sent after them. He, however, could smell one of the men after him. He knew from the fact that the man's scent was getting stronger he couldn't outrun the man, and as much as he hated to admit it, he really didn't have the brains to outsmart a wet paper bag, so, trying what he half-hoped would work but half-hoped didn't, so he could beat the guy up. Kiba dropped from the roof into an alleyway and quickly hid behind a dumpster. Kiba then heard someone else drop into the alleyway. "Get out here, kid, I know you're there," said a gruff voice. Kiba poked his head around the corner of the dumpster to see the man looking straight at him. Kiba pulled his head back around and groaned, the groan masking him pulling 2 soldier pills from his pocket, and eating one himself, and tossing one to Akamaru as he stood out from behind the dumpster. "I got you now, kid," smirked the man. "With Kakashi." Kakashi was being followed and he knew it, but he was just giving his pursuer the runaround, not caring to attack, but apparently his skills had lulled a bit since retiring from ANBU because this woman was vaguely keeping up with him, and if he was being honest with himself it was bugging him. Back with Naruto. Naruto crouched on a roof not too far from their original position but far enough that it wasn't a risk. Naruto, however, watched in horror as Shibuki was impaled on a sword made of what appeared to be water. As Shibuki fell to the ground, a bottle fell out of the man's shirt. But Naruto barely noticed it as he vaulted over the edge of the roof, falling to the ground using his chakra to cushion his fall before once more pulling Samehada from his back and charging at the spiky-haired man that just attacked Shibuki, who was now downing the water from the bottle that fell from Shibuki. When Naruto got close to the man, he exploded with chakra, sending Naruto back. As Naruto flew through the air, he let go of Samehada. "I feel so powerful," said the spiky-haired man with a sadistic grin. "Oh, so the big man has more chakra, big deal, more for Samehada to snack on," growled Naruto, as he pushed himself to his knees then to his feet. The blonde ninja then began to run towards the man attacking Taki, who just stood there with a sadistic smirk on his face. As Naruto passed Samehada, his right hand reached out and snatched it while his left hand became encompassed by a cold mist. The blonde ran forwards, and just before he got to the spiky-haired man he spun around, sending himself careening into the man Samehada first. The giant sharkskin-like blade slammed into the guy's stomach, cutting it up like nothing else while simultaneously sucking out the man's chakra at an alarming rate. Just as Naruto's blade began to pull away, he spun around more and his frosted hand flew around and slammed into the man's side, making the immediate area freeze from Naruto's hand. It was at that point that the man melted into a puddle of water. "Water clone, damn it," thought Naruto as he looked around for the real one. "Naruto, behind you," came the voice of Akane. Naruto spun around to meet the man's water sword with his own blade that then quickly ate the chakra from the water weapon, leaving the spiky-haired man falling towards Naruto, who punched the man in the face, sending him back about 20 meters. "That hurt, you little shit," growled the man. "Hayatan Shimobirisu, ice-style frost breath," called Naruto, spitting out a cloud of icy mist that flew towards the spiky-haired man, who quickly jumped out of the way of the cloud. "Kirigakyu no Jutsu, hidden mist jutsu," called Naruto, bringing in a cloud of mist around the two. "Well, aren't you full of surprises?" said the man as he stood still trying to locate Naruto. Out of nowhere 3 arrows of ice came flying at the back of the man, who turned and destroyed them with a kunai in hand. "Suetun Suikoden no Jutsu, water-style water shark bomb jutsu," called Naruto from inside the mist as a shark made entirely of water came flying out of the mist once more at the spiky-haired man, who jumped to the side avoiding the attack. "Suetun Suiden no Jutsu, water-style water bullet jutsu," called Naruto, spitting out a wave of water towards the spiky-haired man, who was hit in the gut by the technique and shot back 20 meters, but got up and shook off, making Naruto's attack look like nothing. "Fine, then try this on for size. Hayatan Hyoga Ryu no Jutsu, ice-style glacial dragon," called Naruto, creating a giant dragon out of ice that flew towards the spiky-haired man, who jumped up over the head of the dragon only to be hit in the chest with Samehada, which sucked out chakra from the hit. And as the man fell towards the ground, Naruto's free hand lashed out in a claw-like strike with an icy mist-coated hand that hit the spiky-haired ninja in the knee, freezing the joint solid. "Kami damn it," yelled the man as he landed on the ground. "Kami damn you indeed," said Naruto, spinning back around and slamming Samehada into the frozen part of the limb, once more sucking out chakra while also shearing the man's lower half of his leg off. Before he could scream, Naruto ran his weapon across the man's neck, ripping his throat out, spraying blood all over the place in the process. Naruto flicked the blood off his weapon before putting it back on his back. Naruto then walked over to the downed Shibuki and pressed his fingers to the man's neck, not believing that he would find a pulse, but his eyes shot open when he felt a weak pulse from the man. "Samehada, take my chakra, I need enough to be able to control precisely," said Naruto. The sword on his back began sucking out his chakra, leaving Naruto with no more than about 1/8 of his original reserves. Naruto began to sweat. As his chakra vanished from his system when he felt the right amount, he flipped through a short chain of hand signs before his hands glowed green, and he put his hands to Shibuki's chest over the open wound in his chest. It was at this point that Kakashi, Hinata, and Kiba showed up, all looking a little worse for wear. All 3 saw that the spiky-haired man was dead, and from the looks of it Shibuki was too, but Kakashi looked at Naruto with shock clear on his face. "Naruto, you know medical ninjutsu?" questioned Kakashi, getting a nod from Naruto, who was concentrating on the man in front of him. Just as the last part of Shibuki's wound closed up and he shot up taking a deep breath, Naruto fell to the side unconscious as chakra exhaustion hit him like a truck. Just before he hit the ground, a blur came out of nowhere to catch him before his head hit the ground. "You did good, Nisan, thank you," said Fu after catching her brother. "Thank you, you for your kindness won't be forgotten anytime soon," said Shibuki as he stood outside his village seeing the 4 Konoha ninja and Fu off. "Of course, Shibuki-sama, we're allies, we couldn't just leave while you were in trouble," said Kakashi. Shibuki nodded, then turning to Fu. "Remember your promise," Fu said Shibuki, getting a vigorous nod from the girl who was standing next to Naruto. "And you, Naruto, better look after her or I will hunt you down," said Shibuki, glaring at Naruto, who glared back. "I would sooner run myself through with the dullest and rustiest blade under the sun," declared Naruto. "Good," said Shibuki. "Alright, you two, break it up, we should probably head off, right, Kakashi-san?" questioned Fu, looking towards Kakashi, who nodded to the girl. "She's right, break it up, you two," said Kakashi, pushing the two glaring men apart. Naruto then nodded to Shibuki, who nodded back, before the blonde then turned and began walking away. Fu quickly smiled to Shibuki before running after Naruto, who waited a moment for her. With that, the rest of Team 7 nodded to the leader of Taki before following Naruto and Fu. Several hours later, the 5 ninja had been walking for a few hours, Fu and Naruto bonding while the others just watched on, but eventually the inevitable question was asked. "So Naruto, since when did you have a sister, and why was she in a different country?" asked Kiba, not entirely sure of the situation. "We're not actually blood related," said Fu, not really wanting to go into much more detail. "Then how are you two siblings?" questioned Kiba, pressing for the information. "She and I share a burden that links us together along with several others around the world, and that's all you need to know," Kiba said. Naruto, not at all ready to reveal his tenet to his team, nor wanting to reveal Fu's at all. Luckily for the two Jinchuriki, at that moment a messenger hawk swooped down to land on Kakashi's outstretched arm. The silver-haired Jonin took the scroll attached to the hawk's leg and began reading over it. His eyes widened at what he read. "Alright, you 4, Hokage-sama has another mission for us. Asuma's team was sent on a mission and are requesting backup, so we are head towards the land of waves to meet them and back them up should any trouble arise, but from here on out you 4 will need to listen to exactly what I say when I say it, got it?" questioned Kakashi, getting a nod from the now nervous Genin, excluding Naruto, who reached down and squeezed Fu's hand reassuredly. She looked at him, nervousness etched onto her face. "I won't let anything happen to you, I promise," declared the blonde shinobi, making Fu nod at him, smiling gratefully at his comment. "Thanks, Nisan," said Fu. With that, the 5 ninja changed their direction and ran towards the land of waves. The next day, midday. Team 7 plus Fu had been running for several hours now at high speeds to try and make it to where they were needed to back up Team 10. The 5 of them ran out of the tree line where they came to a coast, where 4 ninja, 2 civilians, and 1 boat were situated. "Kakashi?" questioned one of the 4 ninja. "Asuma Hokage-sama sent us as backup," said Kakashi as he and his team walked up to Asuma and his team. "Please, as if any of you could help us," snorted Sasuke. "What the hell is your problem?" growled Fu, glaring at the Uchiha. "Amato, ignore him, he's just an arrogant bitch with a stick up his ass sideways," said Naruto, putting a hand on the girl's shoulder, as everyone around them snickered at Naruto's comment. "As fun as this conversation is, my boat won't be able to hold all of you, maybe 4 of you plus Tazuna and myself," said the rower before Sasuke could retort to Naruto's comment. "That's okay, me and my team will follow along behind," said Kakashi before turning to his team. "You guys remember the water walking exercise, right?" questioned Kakashi, getting a nod from Kiba, Hinata, and Naruto and a confused look from Fu. "It's okay, Fu, I'll carry you across and I'll teach you water walking at some point," said Naruto, putting his hand on Fu's shoulder. "Well, if that's the case, let's go," said Tazuna, getting a nod from the ninja minus Sasuke, who was brooding. Naruto knelt down in front of Fu, who jumped on his back piggyback style, while Asuma's team got the boat before it pulled out into the open waters, and as they said, Kakashi and his team followed behind the boat on foot atop the water. "You ninja will never cease to amaze me," said Tazuna, looking back at Kakashi and his team. The ninja, despite either sitting in a boat or walking across the water, were all still vigilant, looking out for threats. However, after about half an hour of walking, the mist parted to reveal a huge structure. While said Fu in awe of the bridge, everyone else wasn't doing much better, excluding Asuma, Kakashi, and Naruto. Another 10 minutes passed with no change, but then the boatman shut off the engine and started to paddle his boat into shore. "Why did you stop the motor?" questioned Choji, munching on his chips, looking back at the now rowing man. "This is as close to shore as we can get with the motor, as Gato has many people on the lookout for anything, so keep it down," whispered the boatman. Naruto grit his teeth as he glared down before he began to stride forwards with more purpose, and within several more minutes the boat and Team 7 landed at the shore of the lands of waves. Naruto let Fu down as everyone got off the boat. "This is as far as I can take you. I hope you finish your bridge, Tazuna, but this is all I can do," said the boatman. "You have already done more than enough, old friend," said Tazuna as he waked towards the forest, followed by the 9 ninja as the rower paddled back out before then vanishing into the mist like a phantom into the darkness. The 9 ninja walked along behind Tazuna, keeping a vigilant watch around for trouble, Hinata with her Byakugan active, Kiba sniffing the air around them. Naruto had his senses enhanced with chakra. While not as effective as Kiba or Hinata's tracking skills with Samahata, he was reasonable at tracking, which is why when he heard a twig snap he on reflex froze water in the air into a kunai which was flung at the twig snap. The ice kunai flew into the bushes. Naruto quickly walked over to the bushes and parted the leaves, revealing a terrified white rabbit sitting less than an inch from the ice kunai. "Don't scare me like that, kid," declared Tazuna as he spotted the terrified rabbit. "Everyone get ready, we have company," said Naruto, ignoring Tazuna's comment before pulling Samahata off his back with one hand while the other hand became coated in an icy mist, before anyone could question Naruto. "Down!" yelled Kakashi as he heard a sound. Everyone bar Naruto dropped to the ground. A blade as big as Samahata flew through the air, passing over everyone at roughly the height of where their necks were previously. Naruto, however, jumped back as the blade embedded itself in the tree Naruto has just been standing beside. Zabuza Momochi, demon of the hidden mist, A-rank missing Nin, former village of Kiri, wanted for a failed attempt on the Mizukage's life, spoke Naruto, glaring up at the man who now stood on the hilt of the blade in the tree. So the brat knows who I am. I'm flattered. And what do we have here?" Kakashi of the Sharingan and Black Smoke Asuma. "You two have quite the bounty on your head," said Zabuza sarcastically when he was talking with Naruto, turning serious when he spotted Kakashi and Asuma, only for his eyes to lock back onto Naruto and his weapon. "Where the hell did you get that blade, brat?" growled Zabuza, glaring at the blonde. "From my dead sensei's hands before I buried him," growled Naruto, glaring back at Zabuza, who had just forced Naruto to remember a rather painful memory. "Don't even start, Naruto. He died happily because of you," came the voice of Akane, equal parts angry and understanding in her tone. "I know, Akane, it just gets to me. I had to bury the man I called Tusan so soon after meeting him," replied Naruto. "So Kisame's dead ha serves the fish bastard right," laughed Zabuza. "Hayatan Hyoga Ryu no Jutsu, Ice-style glacial dragon," snarled Naruto as a dragon as he created a 50-foot-long dragon of ice with teeth a foot long themselves, and said dragon lunged at a surprised Zabuza, who only just managed to jump out of the way in time. "Don't you dare insult my Tyuusan," snarled Naruto, as he began to leak a bubbly red chakra that began to form the rough shape of a fox. Both the comment and the fox-like cloak shocked both Jonin, while the cloak terrified all of the genin minus Fu. "Kirigakure no Jutsu, hidden mist jutsu," called Zabuza, pulling the mist in around him before fading right into said mist. "You think my Tusen didn't teach me this, Zabuza, you insult him," declared Naruto before he too faded into the mist, and a second later a sound of metal hitting flesh rung throughout the clearing and both Zabuza and Naruto reappeared, Zabuza with a wound on his side from what looked like Samahata. "Lucky shot, brat," growled Zabuza, holding the wound. "If that was a luck shot, then what's this?" growled Naruto, flipping through hand signs. "Hayatan Kori Suraisa no Jutsu, Ice Release Ice Slicer Jutsu," called Naruto, freezing the water in the air around him into disc shapes that then flew at the former Kiri Nin, who blocked them with his sword, only for Naruto to then appear beside the blade and slam his free hand onto the blade, freezing the blade where his hand laid. Naruto was kicked in the chest and sent flying backwards towards the rest of the Nin, but he blonde landed on his feet just in front of them before bolting forwards once more, bringing his blade over his head and slamming it down into the Zabuza's blade as he blocked as Samahata hit Kubikura Bocho where the ice had formed a crack and the blade spread to both sides of the butcher's cleaver, making Zabuza growl and go to kick Naruto, who jumped back before Zabuza could. "You'll pay for that, brat," said Zabuza before running the blade along his hand, making it bleed. The blood flowed down the blade and slid into the crack of the blade, sealing it up before it broke. Zabuza then ran towards Naruto, his sword in one hand, as Zabuza lunged forward, swinging his blade downwards at Naruto, who brought his own blade up to block the blade, only for Zabuza to slam one foot on the ground before swinging his other leg around and slamming it into the side of Naruto's head, launching him into the nearby trees. "Hayatan Hiryu no Jutsu, Ice-style Ice Dragon Jutsu," yelled Naruto, a dragon of ice flying out of the trees at Zabuza, who jumped to the side of the dragon only to then have to raise his blade in defense as Naruto slid down the back of the frozen dragon and attacked the Kiri Nin with Samahata. Naruto jumped off his ice dragon, landing about 20 feet from Zabuza, facing the swordsman glaring at him. Both men lunged forwards, their blades eager to clash once more. The two sword-wielding shinobi stood opposite each other, glaring. As a cool wind blew between them, they launched from the positions forwards, swinging their blades around with an arm each. When the two reached the center of the clearing, their blades once more clashed. Naruto, using the blade lock to his advantage, lunged forwards, fingers curled into a claw-like shape. He struck Zabuza in the gut with his mist-coated hand. Son of bitch, growled Zabuza, jumping back and clutching the wound as he felt the temperature of the area around the wound drop. Naruto-kun, there's someone else in the area, came the voice of Akane. Where? Questioned the blonde, looking around. In the trees to your 10 o'clock, declared Akane. Naruto's eyes locked onto the position but then was forced to block a strong downward swing of Zabuza. Hayatan Shimo Burisu, ice-style frost breath, called Naruto, spewing out a cloud of ice that flew towards Zabuza, who quickly jumped out of the way of the attack before jumping and slammed his blade down on Naruto, who quickly disappeared and was replaced with a log. Where the hell are you, brat? Snarled Zabuza, looking around the clearing. It was only Zabuza's experience as a ninja that saved him as Naruto flew at Zabuza from a high tree branch. Zabuza ducked under the genin's foot, and as Naruto sailed over him, the former Kirin shot his own foot up, hitting Naruto in the gut, making the boy flip backwards. Luckily, Naruto flipped far enough to land on his feet, and once more lunge at the missed Nin. Suetun Suryudan no Jutsu, water-style water dragon jutsu, called Zabuza as Naruto began to lunge, sending a dragon made of water from the nearby lake towards the blonde. Naruto swung his blade down, hitting the dragon as it flew towards him, and the second the water touched Samahata, all of the chakra was sucked out of the attack, making the water drop to the ground in a puddle. Naruto then bolted forwards, his free hand once more becoming coated in an icy mist. Zabuza swung his sword down on Naruto, who blocked the blade with his own, and using his forward momentum he slipped into Zabuza's guard and slammed his free hand into Zabuza's gut, making the immediate area freeze. Naruto once more, before Zabuza could do anything, kicked the man in the gut, sending him flying backwards, pumping chakra into his back, the being the only thing that saved his back from snapping as his back hit a tree behind him. Who are you? Questioned the now semi-delirious Zabuza. Naruto Uzumaki Yuki, second monster of the mist. And you're going to die by my hands, declared Naruto, about to attack the man once more, only for a pair of Saban to fly out of the tree line where Akane pointed out a chakra signature earlier. I thank you for tearing him out. He was a most tricky capture, declared a voice from behind Naruto. The boy turned around to see a person who looked to be about his age, wearing a Kiri issue Anbu mask and the standard Kirigakure pinstriped outfit which stopped at his knees. Over this he wore a green haori with white trimmings, and around his waist a brown sash with a fringed trail wrapped around his waist twice. He also wore light brown platoon sandals with straps in the same color as his kimono, and nail polish on his fingernails and toenails a matching blue-green color. The person's long hair was gathered in a white bun holder, while 2 locks of his hair fell loose, framing his face, bound with metal hair cuffs at the ends. Naruto, had he not caught her scent, would have no idea as to the gender of the newcomer. Naruto knelt down and checked Zabuza for a pulse. Finding none, he once more turned around to face the Nin. All yours, Hunter Nin-sen, declared Naruto, stepping away from Zabuza's body. And in a flash the Hunter Nin appeared in front of the body, throwing one arm over his shoulder. The Nin vanished in a swirl of water. Naruto turned and took a step before he fell to one knee. Naruto called Kiba, Hinata and Fu, rushing over to their teammates/brother. In good, just some chakra exhaustion, said Naruto, trying to push himself up, only to stumble a bit before Kiba pulled one of the blonde's arms over his shoulder. Thanks, Kiba, muttered Naruto, looking at the Inuzuka air. No probs, buddy, declared Kiba with a grin. How far is your house to Zuna? Questioned Asuma, looking back at the man. Not far, just on the other side of town, declared the bridge builder. Alright, we better get going, said Kakashi, getting a nod from everyone else before the lot of them began walking towards Tazuna's house, Sasuke silently glaring at Naruto the whole way. 10 minutes later. The 9 people were standing in front of a semi-dilapidated house. Tazuna simply unlocked and opened the door. Tsunami, Inari, I'm home, yelled Tazuna. Tusan, thank Kami, you're alright, said a woman walking out from another room before hugging Tazuna. She then took note of the people behind her father. Oh, I'm Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter, said Tsunami, bowing to the ninja. Is there somewhere we could rest? Questioned Kakashi. Yes, but unfortunately I don't think we can accommodate all of you in here, said Tsunami. That's fine, my team and I can stay in the woods nearby, declared Naruto, much to the shock of Kakashi and Asuma. You sure, Naruto? My team can be the ones to camp out, declared Asuma. Well, I only speak for me and I find staying outdoors to be less constricting, said Naruto. We'll camp out, declared Kiba, getting a nod from Hinata. Well, I guess that's that solved, said Kakashi before turning to Asuma. We probably need to discuss logistics, so why don't you come with us? Suggested Kakashi, getting a nod from Asuma. Alright, you 3 stay here, declared Asuma before he, Kiba, Naruto, Hinata, Kakashi and Fu walked back out of the house and towards the nearby forests. When they found a suitable clearing, Kiba put Naruto down against a nearby tree. Naruto spoke, Kakashi drawing the blonde's attention to the man. Naruto nodded, indicating he was listening. I have left you alone about your past, but began Kakashi. You want to know about me and Kisame? Questioned the blonde, getting a nod from the man. And I take it that Asuma is here too, so he knows as well? Questioned the blonde, once more getting a nod from Kakashi. Fine, but you can wait until Kiba, Hyanta and Fu are finished. Those two have earned at least that much of my trust, and Fu deserves to know about me, declared the blonde. The two jonin nodded. After about 5 minutes, when the 3 members of Team 7 had set up their tents, while Naruto explained to Asuma he didn't need one, when the blonde noted the confused look on the jonin's face. Alright, you 3 come here, I asked Naruto to explain his connection to Kisame, and he said you 3 can know, said Kakashi to his 2 other genin as they all walked over to Naruto. Alright, you might want to sit down, this isn't exactly a short story, said Naruto. It all started about 4 years ago, declared Naruto, looking at the ground. Flashback. An 8-year-old Naruto was walking in the forest with a katana strapped to his back along with his bow and arrows. He had been on his own for about a week now and was now heading towards Yuzushiyogakure. As the blonde walked into a clearing, he noticed another person in the clearing. This man had blue skin with gill-like parts under his shark-like eyes. Naruto took note of the giant sword on his back that was turned to the blonde as the man was doubled over, coughing. Hey buddy, you okay? Questioned the young blonde, hoping the man was okay, or if he wasn't, the blonde might be able to help him with his above-average knowledge of medical ninjutsu. The blue-skinned man turned and looked at Naruto, no longer coughing. Yeah kid, fine as Daisy, said the man somewhat sarcastically as he wiped the blood from his chin. Well okay then, said Naruto, turning to leave. Why kid, where's your parents? Questioned the blue-skinned man, only half sounding concerned. Don't have any, said Naruto, looking over his shoulder at the man. Then what's a kid your age doing out here in the middle of nowhere with a blade and a bow? Questioned the man. I'm training to be a ninja, said Naruto. A ninja, huh? Questioned the blue-skinned man. Yeah, why? Said Naruto, narrowing his eyes at the man. Well, I'm looking for an apprentice. You interested? Questioned the man. That depends, what would you be teaching me? Questioned Naruto. The blonde watched as the blue-skinned man reached into his jacket and pulled out a bingo book before tossing it to the blonde. Turn to page 5, declared the man. Naruto did as instructed and opened the book to the suggested page, and lo and behold, a picture of the man standing before him was on the page marked S rank. As Naruto read the page, his eyes grew wider and wider until he dropped the book and looked at the man. I'd be teaching you everything I know, said Kisame. Hell yeah, I'm interested, said Naruto. Good, but before I make this official, I got 2 tests for you, once spoke Kisame, pulling the sword off his back before putting the blade still wrapped in bandages on the ground. This is Samahata. She's gotta accept you as a wielder, and then well, we'll get to that if you get past this first part, said Kisame. Naruto nodded and began to reach out for the handle until the handle of the sword itself grew and wrapped around Naruto's arm, sucking out some of the blonde's chakra before the bandages were ripped off the other end and a mouth opened up at the tip of the rounded weapon, out of which a tongue came and began licking Naruto's face, making the blonde laugh while the sword made excited sounds and the blonde giggled. Okay, stop it, said Naruto, giggling while the sword licked him. Were he not preoccupied by the sword, he would have seen the look on Kisame's face. I've never seen her this excited, not even when she chose me. Just who are you, kid? Thought Kisame to himself as he stepped forwards and took the sword from the blonde. The sword whined as the blonde took deep breaths, trying to regain his breath. Alright kid, you passed the first test. Before we move on to the second one, you got a name? It's not every day Samahata accept a wielder, and I'd like to know the name of a potential wielder, declared Kisame. Naruto nodded, and after taking another few deep breaths, he pushed himself up and looked at the man. Naruto Uzumaki, said Naruto with a grin. Well, Naruto Uzumaki, get ready for the second test, said Kisame, adopting a rough stance with Samahata in his hands. Careful Naruto, that book wasn't lying, he has enough chakra to be considered a Biju, came the cautious voice of Akane from within the blonde's mind. I'm fairly sure I know what this test is, but just to be safe, could you clarify, Kisame-san? Questioned Naruto, pulling the katana on his back out of its sheath. Your second test is to cut me, declared Kisame with a sadistic grin plastered on his face as he sat Samahata on his shoulder. I swear I will pass this test of yours, declared Naruto, dropping into his sword stance. Well then, come at me, taunted Kisame, his smirk spreading wider as the blonde began to charge. I passed Kisame's test, and he trained me with Samahata and died 3 years ago from an incurable disease, or at least that's what he told me, said Naruto, looking down at Samahata, which was sitting in his lap. After a moment, Naruto felt a pair of arms wrap around him. He looked up and saw Fu. Thanks, Amato, said Naruto, hugging the girl back. No problems, Nisan, said Fu with a sad smile as she sat down next to Naruto. Well, Kakashi, we still need to actually organize who does what when, said Asuma. Well, we might as well just make it one day one team guards Tazuna while the other team trains and leave it at that, said Kakashi. That sounds like a good plan, said Asuma. Well, as it's your team's mission, you can take the first guard shift, said Kakashi, getting a nod from Asuma, who stood up nodding to Kakashi before walking back to Tazuna's house and his team. Alright guys, given we have a few hours before the sun goes down, we might as well get some training done, said Kakashi, getting a nod from the 4 genin in front of him. Okay, I've been training you guys except for about a month now, and in that time I have come to know you guys and how you fight, and I have some suggestions regarding your strengths and which of the ninja arts you would excel in should you wish to hear them, declared Kakashi, getting curious looks from all of the genin. I'll take that as a yes. Alright then, we'll start with you, Kiba, said Kakashi, turning to the Inuzuka heir. Your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness. With your partnership with Akamaru, should the two of you get separated or something similar, you're only half as effective. I thought about ninjutsu, but your reserves are at the point you have too little chakra for too much ninjutsu, and too much for genjutsu to come easily to you. So for you, Kiba, I would suggest we find out what your elemental affinity is and try and incorporate that into your taijutsu, while at the same time I'd suggest you keep your eyes open for maybe a weapon to use that complements your taijutsu, said Kakashi. Kiba had his head down in serious thought, contemplating what his sensei said. Kakashi meanwhile turned to Hinata. You, Hinata, your greatest strength is your precise control of your chakra, but your largest weakness is your gentle personality. You're too afraid to hurt someone. Now that isn't a bad thing in most situations, but when on active duty you have to be prepared to take lives if necessary, but due to your kind and gentle personality you won't. So with that in mind, I would suggest for you is to be a support kunoichi, hanging back and supporting with genjutsu and medical ninjutsu. Your precise control plays well with this, and that way you can stay back and avoid most of the fighting where you're just as likely to wind up dead as your opponent is, and you can help those who have been hurt in the process, said Kakashi, getting a nod from Hinata. The silver-haired jonin then turned to Naruto. Now Naruto, you have a huge control problem, but then with the reserves you have, that's not really a problem. You have your ninjutsu and weapons, and from what I understand Fuinjutsu, there isn't really a whole lot I can actually eat you, said Kakashi, about to continue when Naruto held up a hand. You can stop for now, Kakashi-sensei, as while on this mission I'd like to spend my time training Fu and perfecting the skills I already have, if that's alright with you, said Naruto. I was just going to say I can at some point teach you some water jutsu I know, and maybe a wind one or two, but for the time being I need to help your teammates more than you, so actually that works out great, said Kakashi with a nod. Naruto turned to Fu. Does that work for you, Imato? Questioned Naruto, getting an excited nod from the mint-haired girl, who then wrapped Naruto in a hug. He just hugged the girl back with a smile. Alright, let's get started, declared Naruto after the duo parted. Several hours later. The sun had just begun to go down, and Team 7 was just about to begin cooking their food when a kid wearing overalls and a bucket hat walked into the clearing, gaining the attention of the ninja. Yes? Questioned Kakashi, looking at the kid. Kachan says food's ready if you guys want to come in, said the boy before walking back towards the house of their client. Naruto turned to Kakashi, who shrugged and got up, following the kid. Eating with the family might prove useful in the long run. Kiba and Hinata Shorty followed after. Naruto turned to Fu, who was looking at him. Are you going to go? Questioned Fu. I was going to ask you that, said Naruto. Fu shrugged and got up, Naruto deciding to do the same, and the two walked towards the client's house. Dinner was quiet, mostly just Tazuna answering a few questions posed by the jonin, and occasionally one from the genin. However, as the dinner drew to a close, Inari spoke up for the first time since Team 7 had entered the house. Why do you even try? Questioned the boy. I'm sorry? Replied Naruto, being the one who heard him the clearest. Why are trying so hard? You're all just going to die. Go back to your easy lives in a village far away from the suffering here, yelled Inari. Inari yelled, Tsunami yelling at the boy, who was now glaring at Naruto, whose hair was down, shadowing his eyes. The temperature of the room began to drop slowly, and everyone began to feel an oppressive presence flood the room. By the time the temperature had dropped to the point that everyone's breath was visible, Kakashi had moved to next to his blonde student, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder, making him look up at his silver-haired sensei, who shook his head. Naruto turned to Fu, whose hair like his was shadowing her eyes. He grabbed the girl's wrist, and her head snapped to face him, her orange eyes locked with his now frosty silver eyes, before he pulled her up and walked to the door. Good night all, said Naruto before he and Fu walked out the door, Naruto slamming it behind him. What are their problems? Snorted Inari. Kakashi and Asuma literally had to hold Hinata and Kiba back from beating the shit out of the kid. After it was clear that Asuma and Kakashi weren't going to let them go, the two decided to follow their unofficial team captain's lead. Good night, declared Kiba before walking out the door, Hinata not saying anything as she followed her teammate. With Naruto and Fu, the two Jinchuriki stomped into the forest away from their camping area, not wishing to destroy the area in their rage. Once they were what Naruto decided was a safe distance, he let red bubbly chakra cloak his arm before he ran forwards and slammed the limb into a tree. FUUUCCCCKKKKK roared Naruto as the tree broke like a twig before being launched backwards towards more trees. Naruto dropped to his knees, his head hanging as Foot 2 took her anger out of the flora around them. Red chakra began to flow out of Naruto, cloaking him in it. Naruto, calm down, came the voice of Akane. Naruto ignored her and let the chakra continue to flow. Naruto, once more Akane tried to speak with him, but he ignored her. Naruto yelled the woman, and still Naruto didn't respond, so with no other option she yanked his consciousness and dragged him to his mindscape. Naruto had blacked out and woke up on a grassy hill overlooking a lake with a home next to it, with a path leading away to a stone temple and behind that a giant mountain range. He was very familiar with the landscape, having constructed it himself for his tenant, the Kyubi no Vixen, or as he knew her, Akane. Naruto was about to get up from his position under a sakura tree to go and search for the Biju, when he felt a pair of arms wrap themselves around him. "It's okay," Naruto whispered Akane into the boy's ear, and with that Naruto lost it. He broke down and cried. He clung to Akane and let all of his negative emotions flow. The two had no idea how long they sat there, Naruto crying with Akane whispering words of comfort to the blonde, but then again Naruto had many years of bottled up emotion he let go all at once, as he had been alone with at most one person for 6 years, and all that time he had to maintain a facade of calmness. Inari pushing his buttons with that little speech on him not knowing suffering, and Akane's comforting gestures just broke him. After the last of Naruto's tears were shed, he stood up. "I'll be back in a little while, Akane, but Amato needs me now," said Naruto, once more applying his calm and collected facade. Akane sighed as he left his mindscape. "You need someone too," Narukuen thought the Biju sadly as she waited for the blonde to return. Outside, Naruto found that at least half an hour had passed, and while he was out, Fu had gone a little nuts and semi-destroyed half of the clearing and passed out. Deciding he was feeling too drained to face his teammates, and more than likely some form of inquiry, the blonde pulled Fu into a hug, watching the pained expression on her face fade to one of mild comfort. Naruto then leaned back against the tree before closing his eyes and returning to his mindscape, while his body slept. The blonde boy was met with Akane, who sat much like Naruto for Fu back against a tree, her 9 white tails dancing to some unknown rhythm around her. Naruto stepped forwards into the Biju's embrace. "It's just so," began Naruto, until Akane silenced him by putting one of her fingers to his lips. "I know," spoke the white-haired fox lady as she wrapped Naruto in her tails while gently hugging him. Akane just smiled softly to herself as Naruto relaxed in her arms and even went so far as to hug her back. Akane gently began to run her hand through his blonde locks, looking down at the tear-stained face of the boy who had his eyes shut. Once she heard a snore from the boy, she leaned down and planted her lips on his forehead. "Sleep well, Narukuen," said Akane as she too closed her eyes and began to fall asleep. Next morning, Naruto woke up sitting under a tree, Fu sleeping in his arms. Naruto quickly created an ice clone to substitute with so he could go for a short walk. Once he was standing, he began to walk out of the clearing. Once Naruto stepped out of the clearing, he felt a similar chakra signature with his limited sensor skills. Narrowing his eyes for a moment, Naruto walked towards the chakra signature. Within several moments, Naruto walked to a clearing next to a lake where he saw a girl with long black hair, wearing a pink kimono, kneeling down picking plants. "Good morning, miss," said Naruto, making the woman jump, turning to face him with a scared look on her face before she quickly calmed down. "Good morning," said the woman. "What's a pretty young woman like yourself doing out here, miss?" said Naruto, trailing off, realizing he didn't know her name. "Haku, my name is Haku, and I'm picking herbs to help my friend," said the woman, a light blush tainting her cheeks. "Would you like a hand, Haku-chan?" questioned Naruto, smiling at the girl. "If you don't mind, and by the way, I'm a boy," declared Haku, getting a deadpan look from Naruto. "What?" questioned Haku. "You being a boy is as believable to me as declaring the sky is pink," said Naruto before bending down and picking one of the herbs, handing it to Haku, who looked at him strangely. "Please, Haku-chan, I can smell the scent of a female coming from you, but more incriminatingly, I can see the bandages you're using to bind your chest," declared Naruto, making the girl hug her chest area tight until she realized there was no way he would be able to see the bindings. "And you acted like that," declared Naruto, smirking when Haku looked at his face. A blush spread across her face as she realized she'd been caught. "Don't worry, Haku-chan, your secret is safe with me," said Naruto with a gentle smile. "Thank you," said Haku, trailing off once she realized she didn't know his name. Naruto Uzumaki Yuki," said Naruto, making Haku's eyes widen. "Why Yuki?" questioned Haku timidly. Naruto nodded, only to have Haku launch herself at him, crying. What is it?" questioned Naruto, holding the now shaking girl. "Family. I actually have family left in this world," said the girl, trembling. Making Naruto's eyes widen as he hugged the girl, Naruto quickly formed a pair of clones to continue the herb colliding while he hugged Haku as she cried into his chest. The two just stood there as Haku cried, Naruto whispering words of comfort as she cried. As Haku's cries wound down to the occasional sob, she stepped back from Naruto, who simply smiled at her. "Better?" questioned Naruto, getting a nod from the girl. She was shocked when she was tapped on the shoulder before she turned to see a pair of clones put enough of the herb she was looking for into her basket to fill it up, and then some. "Make sure Zabuza gets better, Haku, because now I know my kinsman is involved. I will move heaven and earth to make sure you're safe, even if that means killing Zabuza," declared Naruto, making Haku turn back to him only to find him gone. Haku turned and walked out of the clearing feeling conflicted. With Naruto walked back into the clearing where he and Fu had slept the night before to find Fu awake leaning on the clone with a smile. As Naruto walked into the clearing, Fu looked up confused, but then realization hit her, one of them was a clone. Before she could ask which Naruto the real one spoke. "Go get Kakashi and Asuma and tell them I need to talk with them," said Naruto. The clone jumped up nodding before running out of the clearing. Naruto walked over to Fu and gently pulled her to her feet. "Come on, Amato, we need to get back," said Naruto, gently pulling Fu out of the clearing. The girl simply followed. The two walked back to their team's clearing in silence. Naruto had a look of seriousness on his face. Fu just looked at the boy worried. When the two walked into the clearing, they saw Asuma and Kakashi looking at them. "Okay, Naruto, what is it now?" questioned Asuma. "Zabuza is alive," declared Naruto, shocking both Jonin. "How do you know this?" questioned Kakashi. "I met the hunter Nin in the forest earlier, which leads into my next point, which you need to tell your team to Asuma. If any serious injury befalls her inflicted by one of you, Konoha ninja or not, I will murder you in the slowest possible way," declared Naruto, glaring daggers at the other ninja. Kakashi raised a brow. Asuma narrowed his eyes. Hinata and Kiba both looked terrified. "And why is that, Genin?" said Asuma, stressing the blonde's rank. "She is a Yuki, my kinsman," growled Naruto, shocking all of the ninja. Hinata, Fu and Kiba scared of him, growling along with the declaration. The Jonin at the declaration. Naruto then turned around and walked to the edge of the clearing. "Where are you going?" questioned Kakashi. "I have seals to perfect and a rematch with Zabuza to prepare for," declared Naruto, walking out of the clearing as an ice clone formed walking back to Fu. "Come on, Fu-chan, we have training to do," declared the clone. "I'm not sure it's a good idea to let him go off on his own," Kakashi said, Asuma looking towards Naruto's disappearing form. "I know, you go back to your team and I'll tend to mine," said Kakashi. Asuma nodded and walked out of the clearing to give a warning to his team. Kakashi, on the other hand, created a clone to send after Naruto while he trained Kiba and Hinata. With Naruto was sitting against a tree with a scroll open next to him with ink and a brush on the other side and a book in his lap with a pencil in hand. Naruto looked to the scroll on his left, then back at his book. "That looks about right. Okay, time to test it," muttered Naruto, putting the book and pencil down before putting the brush into the ink pot before drawing the seal from the page in his book on the palm of his hand. Kakashi's clone, who sat in a tree above Naruto, watched closely as the boy painted his skin. Once the seal was done, Naruto formed a kunai out of ice which he used to slice into the skin of his leg a bit. The clone was about to jump in and stop Naruto when the hand that had the seal painted on it was already covered in green chakra, hovering over the cut, sealing it up once more. After a second, the cut was completely healed. Kakashi watched on as Naruto stood up and walked to a nearby tree and slammed his closed fist straight into it, snapping and uprooting the tree and sending it back 10 feet, uprooting a second tree in the process. "Damn, it's still not right," muttered Naruto, taking his seat back against the tree with his pencil in hand and book on his lap. "Not right? You have got to be joking. What's he hoping to do?" mentally questioned Kakashi as he watched Naruto once more get up, walking over to a tree, slamming his fist into it once more, snapping and uprooting the tree, launching it 20 feet, snapping a tree behind the first, and slightly uprooting a second one. "Still not right, damn it," growled Naruto, slamming his hand into the ground, creating a 10-foot wide spiderweb crack in the ground. "Just what are you hoping to achieve, Naruto?" thought Kakashi, looking down at his student, who was once more trying to fix the seal to do whatever he had planned to do. "Alright, this has got to be it," muttered Naruto, standing up once more. This time Naruto closed his eyes. After a second his eyes snapped open and he ran forwards, slamming his fist once more into a tree which snapped into two parts, with the lower half being uprooted and sent forwards, hitting a pair of trees behind it, snapping them while shattering the first two halves, while the second 4 halves into another set of trees, uprooting them, while the second set of halves shattered into splinters. It was at this point it finally dawned on Kakashi. "Wait, that looked like Tsunade-sama's strength technique," said Kakashi out loud without even thinking. "Yes, Kakashi-sensei, it's supposed to," said Naruto without even turning to face the man. The silver-haired clone dropped to the ground. So you've recreated Tsunade-sama's technique with seals? Questioned Kakashi, getting a head shake from the young blonde. No, I've just recreated her technique. The seals are to make my control precise enough to pull it off, declared Naruto, looking at the seal on his palm, trying to work out what tattoo he could use to hide the seal. How did you do it? Questioned Kakashi's clone. I can't tell you, Kakashi, it's bad enough I put in so much effort to mimic her technique, let alone allowing someone else to do the same, said Naruto. Kakashi nodded. It did make sense, but the question did really remain, just how did Naruto manage to copy Tsunade's strength technique so well? Kakashi was brought out of his thoughts when he heard something being unsealed. Kakashi looked to see Naruto holding a bow. With a flash of ice, an arrow of ice formed, and Naruto had pulled the arrow back and let it fly before Kakashi could even blink. Kakashi blinked a couple of times before raising a brow. What? Questioned Naruto, catching Kakashi's raised brow from the corner of his eye. You've just created a super strength jutsu, and yet moved straight on to practicing with a bow, said Kakashi. The super strength is more of a last resort, while I plan to use my bow to full potential in my fight against Zabuza, declared Naruto. That's if we let you, said Kakashi. Naruto turned to the Kakashi clone, his eyes glowing silver with rage. Kakashi-sensei, this is no longer just about the client to me. I have to be the one to face Zabuza if you want to be right behind me to take over if I get knocked out, but I am the one who is going to fight him first, declared Naruto. Kakashi said nothing. Naruto took that as the conversation was over. The next day, Naruto and his team were now guarding Tazuna on the bridge, while his team where he was preparing the bridge for the inevitable battle to come. So just one more time, kid, with this the bridge won't be able to be blown up? Questioned Tazuna, looking down at Naruto, who was carving a seal into the bridge surface. Yes and no, the bridge won't be completely immune to explosions, but most explosions' power should be lowered to the point that it does at best minimal damage to the surface. However, should the need arise, the underside of the bridge is still very much able to explode, so if bandits or something are coming, you can simply blow the bridge to stop them, declared Naruto. Tazuna nodded to Naruto. Now again, why are you doing this? Questioned Tazuna. Because Zabuza is alive and I plan to fight him, and the fight will more than likely end up on this bridge one way or another, and given my own fondness of explosives, it would be best to protect the bridge from any possible crossfire, declared Naruto, as he channeled Futon chakra to his finger to carve into the brick to actually create the seal. Tazuna, came a voice from behind the old bridge builder. The old man turned to see a middle-aged man looking very scared. Yes, Ryoku, what is it? Questioned Tazuna, looking concerned. I'm sorry, Tazuna, but I just can't do this. I fear for my family, and I said the man, stopping when Tazuna held up his hand. I get it, thanks for all the work you did. Just go and stay safe, my friend, said Tazuna as the man nodded and left his tools before leaving the bridge and heading back into town. Tazuna sighed as he watched the man leave. How often is that happening? Questioned Naruto. More often than I'd like, declared Tazuna. Naruto nodded and made a single hand sign. Kege Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu, called Naruto, a large cloud of smoke erupting around the man. They may not be the best at building, but they'll help in any way they can, declare Naruto. Tazuna just looked on in shock as the 200 clones of the boy looked to him for orders. Keep in mind, only I can make this many, and only on the days I'm guarding you, but they should help you complete the bridge sooner, declared Naruto. Naruto awoke from his position in a tree above Tazuna's house to the sounds of screams. Naruto looked down from his perch to see Tsunami being dragged out of her home by a pair of bandits while Inari was yelling at them. Naruto rolled his eyes. The little brat had changed since the night he and Fu stormed out. Naruto was sure that someone had shared some of his past with the boy, making him realize he didn't really have a reason to whine. Naruto narrowed his eyes when the bandits pushed Inari away from them before the kid picked up a knife and was about to charge at the bandits. You stupid little brat, muttered Naruto, pulling his bow off his back before forming a pair of arrows of ice and launching them at the two bandits' heads. Either man saw it coming, and in the blink of an eye both men fell to the ground dead. Naruto dropped from the tree to see Tsunami hugging Inari tightly. Thank you, Naruto-san, said Tsunami with a smile to the boy who flashed through hand signs. Kori Bunshin no Jutsu, Ice Clone Jutsu, said Naruto, the around them freezing into two clones. Go back inside, lock your doors, and if you hear a knock, send one of these two to answer it, declared Naruto, taking off before either Tsunami or Inari could make a comment. I hope I'm not too late, thought Naruto to himself as he rushed towards the bridge. The plan had been for both teams to go to the bridge and confront Zabuza and Haku, Asuma and Kakashi waiting in the wings to take over from Naruto should Zabuza defeat him, while the rest of the genin were split between guarding Tazuna and stalling Haku. Naruto, having worked out from the injuries he'd given Zabuza and the herbs around the island how long it would take Zabuza to be up and about. I can still feel all of the chakra signatures, declared Akane from within Naruto's mind. Akane-chan, thank Kami you're okay, thought Naruto. Why wouldn't I be? Questioned the woman. You didn't speak to me at all for the last couple of days. I thought something had happened, replied Naruto. Sorry, just had a lot on my mind. Besides, you could have come in and checked for yourself, replied Akane. I was going to come in later today if you hadn't spoken to me. I was really worried, said Naruto. Unknown to him, a blush spread over the Biju's face as she cut the mental link. Naruto burst through the tree line, landing on the bridge. But before he could take note of anything, he was engulfed in smoke. Then he felt a lot of pain all over, enough to make him black out, and collapsed to the ground. Naruto screamed a voice as the blonde fell to the ground. Several minutes earlier on the bridge, Sasuke wasn't having a good day. He, like everyone else, had arrived at the bridge, and much to his annoyance, Kakashi and Asuma stepped in to take on Zabuza, so Sasuke was left with everyone else. He declared he'd face the fake hunter Nin alone, his plan being to kill her, then kill Naruto for hurting his Uchiha pride. But when he had jumped in to attack Haku, she had countered his every move, and now he was trapped in a set of ice mirrors he couldn't melt with his Katon Jutsu, and unfortunately there was nothing nearby to substitute with to get out of the mirrors. The only upside, he had awakened his Sharingan. Please just give up now, I do not wish to kill you, declared the girl from within her mirror. Well, too bad, because I'm going to kill you, declared Sasuke. Very well, said Haku with a sad sigh before she shot out of her mirror, launching Sanban at Sasuke. She wasn't really going to kill him, just put him in a death-like state like she did with Zabuza, but he didn't know that. Sasuke, who saw the needles coming at him, cursed himself. He couldn't move fast enough to get out of the way. However, thanks to his newly acquired eyes, he saw Naruto burst through the tree line. Ha, perfect, you'll serve me some use yet, Dobe. The needles will kill you, then I'll kill her, thought Sasuke as he quickly needed the chakra required for a Kawarimi, and then switched places with Naruto. Haku watched on in horror as Sasuke was replaced with Naruto in a plume of smoke, and he was in such a position that her needles might actually kill him. The needles pierced his skin, and he fell to the ground, his eyes closed. Naruto screamed, Haku jumping out of her mirrors to rush to the boy's side. However, as soon as she was out of a mirror, she felt a presence behind her, and turned to see a smirking Uchiha, already going through hand signs. You, growled Haku, getting ready to charge the Uchiha, only to be beaten to the punch by a mocha, white and green blur, slamming a fist into the Uchiha's gut, launching the boy into the air, where he was met with a pair of drill-like blurs who slammed him into the ground, rendering the Uchiha unconscious. You fucking bastard, growled Foot, kicking Sasuke in the gut while he was down. Haku, seeing the Uchiha taken care of, ripped off her mask before she turned around and pulled Naruto's head into her lap and began removing the needles from the boy's body. What are you doing? Questioned the angry voice of Fu from behind Haku. Removing the needles. Hopefully Naruto is still alive, said Haku, once more carefully taking the needles out of Naruto. But you were going to kill Sasuke, how would Naruto still be alive? Questioned Kiba, narrowing his eyes at the ice-wielding Kunoichi. I wasn't going to kill the Uchiha, I was going to put him in a death-like state, but him substituting with Naruto may have actually killed him, declared Haku. Why should we trust you? Questioned Fu, glaring down at Haku. He is from my clan, the last of my family in this world. I could never hurt him, even if we don't know each other that well, declared Haku, pulling another needle out of Naruto carefully. Both Kiba and Fu narrowed their eyes at the girl before Fu knelt down next to her. How can I help? Questioned the mint-haired girl. Gently pull the needles out one at a time, said Haku, not really concentrating on the other girl. Fu nodded and joined Haku, gently pulling needles out of Naruto's skin. Kiba stood back with Akamaru sitting atop the boy's head, both watching for any sudden movements. It took about 3 minutes for the two girls to pull the needles out of Naruto. As soon as the last needle was pulled out of his skin, Naruto shot up into a seated position and looked around for a moment before he noticed he was on the ground with a maskless Haku behind him and a smiling Fu next to him. Naruto-kun/ni, called Haku and Fu respectively, hugging Naruto, who simply wrapped an arm around them both. However, a second later Naruto noticed the mist on the bridge began to clear. Sorry you two, but things need to be done, said Naruto, substituting with a nearby log before bolting for the end of the bridge, quickly followed by Kiba, then Fu and Haku. As the four of them ran, a voice rang out through the clearing mist. Yes, yes, kill him, declared the voice. Gato, roared the familiar voice of Zabuza. It seems the demon of the hidden mist is nothing more than a title, Zabuza. Luckily I never intended to pay you, I hired all of these men for the same amount I'm paying you, declared a short fat midget in a suit as the four genin appeared on the end of the bridge. Well, it looks like we're no longer enemies, Kakashi, said Zabuza, looking to the jonin before spotting Naruto with Haku. You took your sweet time, brat, declared Zabuza, looking at Naruto before Kakashi could respond to his previous comment. Yes, I had been spending the last few days preparing to face you and stayed up a little too late last night, but I guess now I can use all of that training to get rid of this mob, said Naruto, nodding his head to the mob around Gato. Naruto then pulled his bow off his back before stomping on the handle of Zabuza's sword before kicking it to Zabuza, who had been freed from Kakashi's dogs. Naruto then bolted down the bridge towards the mob, Zabuza appearing beside him a moment later. Naruto kicked off the bridge looking like he was jumping over the side of the bridge, however a small sheet of ice formed midair which Naruto kicked off, flipping upside down, pulling 3 arrows out of his quiver. Pulling the arrows back, Naruto let the 3 projectiles fly, shooting towards the mob. All 3 arrows nailed a different bandit in the head, however Naruto had a little surprise in store. Boom bitch, yelled Naruto, and like that all 3 arrows exploded like a supercharged explosive tag. Naruto flipped and landed on his feet the other side and just behind Zabuza, who not to be shown up leapt into the air and went flying into the mob of bandits, and began slicing and dicing them as they all stabbed their weapons into the demon, trying to kill him. Naruto followed the trail. Zabuza laid down his own giant blade in his hands as he cleaved his way through the leftover bandits. As Naruto and Zabuza cleaved their way through the bandits, Gato got more and more sacred, and as Zabuza broke the last line of bandits, Gato saw Naruto jump onto Zabuza's back before jumping over the swordsman and the businessman, and as if it was planned, Naruto once more created a sheet of ice in midair and kicked off it into Gato's back, launching the man into Zabuza's blade swing. Hey, they just killed out meal ticket, said one of the bandits. Hearing that, Naruto bit his thumb and ran the bloody digit along his kitsune tattoo before slamming his hand into the ground, creating a huge plume of smoke appear. Once the smoke cleared, a 4-tailed kitsune was revealed. It was black in color, and about the size of a horse. Shadow, these bandits are all yours, said Naruto dismissively as the kitsune's maw split into a grin before he took off, tearing through the bandits. Once Zabuza saw the bandits were taken care of, he dropped to the ground and blood poured out of his body through the many wounds. Zabuza, said Naruto, looking down at the heavily bleeding man. Kid, I'm a gonna but cough before I go. I want you to cough, promise me something, said Zabuza. What is it, Zabuza? Questioned Naruto. Haku cough, look after her, wheezed the dying man. Naruto nodded to the downed swordsman. Cough, take my sword, kid, said Zabuza weakly, lifting his sword to Naruto, who leaned down and took the blade before after a second the blade vanished in a puff of smoke as Naruto sealed it away. Zabuza-sama, screamed Haku as she saw her master on the ground dying. Naruto stepped back to let the girl, who skidded to a halt, cry for her downed master. Ha cough, cool, live well my cough daughter, said Zabuza before his head lulled to the side as the light left his eyes and the man lived no more. To sniff, sen, muttered Haku as tears began to form in her eyes. Naruto stepped closer and put a comforting hand on Haku's shoulder. Haku looked up at him in surprise before she quickly launched herself at Naruto, latching onto him as she cried her eyes out on his shirt. Naruto just smiled sadly as he hugged the girl. The demon of the mist was dead. Naruto and Haku were in a clearing situated away from Tazuna's house, and the clearing that Team 7 had claimed for their time in the wave. It had been 2 days since the battle on the bridge, and since then Haku hadn't left Naruto's side. She had been terrified of the other ninja taking revenge on her or something. The feeling had lessened of the past 2 days, but it hadn't vanished entirely. Naruto had not trusted Sasuke in the same vicinity alone with Haku, not trusting the arrogant Uchiha to either try and murder the girl or force himself upon her. As for why the two were in the clearing, well. So what are you doing again? Questioned Haku, looking at Naruto, who was carving a seal into the ground. I am recombining Samehada and Kubikura Bocho to recreate the original blade, said Naruto, concentrating on the task at hand of creating the seal. And you know how to combine them, and even that they combine how? Questioned Haku, leaning back against a tree. Because it was created by the Uzumaki clan, as were all 7 of the 7 swords of the mist. In truth, they were originally the 5 blades of Uzushio. Kiri just stole the blades from Uzushio during their combined invasion. And not knowing that these blades were one and only the leader of the 5 gates of the whirlpool, nor that the Kiba blades are just a pair of regular swords with a right-un seal on them to convert any chakra put into them into right-un chakra, explained Naruto, surprising Haku. You sure do know a lot about Uzushio, said Haku. Well, I should. I spent enough time there, said Naruto. But wait, if Samehada and Kubikura Bocho were originally 1 blade and you need a seal to put them back together, how did they become 2 blades? Questioned Haku. Naruto smirked. Well, from what I understand, the gate of the center who wielded the blade, if they were really at one with the blade, it could show them how to split the blade into 2, and it was said that the blade supposedly was basically duplicated 2 smaller blades with the same powers as the original. However, one wielder tried to teach the next chosen wielder how to do it, but he failed. That failure in turn split the blade into the 2 fragments here, which the best seal masters in Uzushio then spent months, even years, on trying to reforge the blade, and that's how this seal came to be. They figured out how to remerge the blades, but they were at war when it was finished, so they had no time to reforge the blade, declared Naruto with a sad smile, thinking of his fallen kinsman. How do you even know about all of this? questioned Haku. I was in Uzushio for months. I gathered every book, scroll and journal of any and all Uzumaki, so I found out many things from different journals, including some of people who immigrated to Uzushio, like several members of the Yuki clan, hence my Hayatan and Yuki blood. There were a few Kaigaya, some Senju, a couple of Uchiha, even a Hyuga or two. They just left their villages for varying reasons, some wanting to live peaceful life, some married into the Uzumaki, even some were just banished from their villages for various reasons, said Naruto before he put the two giant blades down on the seal Samahata on top of Kubikura Bocho. Naruto stepped out of the seal, making sure not to disturb the seal. Naruto then knelt down next to the seal before channeling chakra to his fingers and slammed his hands down at the same time, making the seal and two swords glow bright white. The light was so bright that Haku had to cover her eyes. Naruto, however, just channeled chakra to a seal next to his eye, which darkened his vision, making the bright light a normal brightness, but everything else around him much darker, and with his enhanced vision Naruto saw that both blades pulsed twice before slowly Samahata started to sink while Kubikura Bocho rose up from the ground. Once the two blades merged into one, the whole thing pulsed gold before the light died down, and Naruto let the chakra dissipate from his eye seal and Haku uncovered her eyes. What they saw shouldn't have been that surprising, but it was. The blade had the basic shape of Kubikura Bocho with scales like Samahata on the flats of the blade. There was no hole in the middle of the tip of the blade, nor was there a notch in the cutting edge of the blade. The handle of the blade was the same one that once belonged to Samahata. Naruto leant forwards and grasped the sword by the hilt. Samanikuya, Shark Butcher, is once more whole, said Naruto, grinning. Thank you for bringing me together once more, Naruto, came a male voice from inside Naruto's mind. So the legends were true. You are a sentient blade, said Naruto, looking at the sword in his hands. Yes, I can however only speak through a mental link, declared Samanikuya. Naruto rolled the blade in his hand a couple of times before sheathing it in the large strap on his back. Naruto ni Haku-chan, come on, we have guard duty, yelled the voice of Fu walking into the clearing. Well, time to go, Haku, said Naruto, offering the Yuki girl a hand. Haku blushed as she took his hand and he pulled her up. Several days later. And you lot are invited, said Tazuna, standing in front of all of the ninja. The citizens of the wave had decided that to celebrate the finishing of the bridge along with a thank you for the shinobi with a festival, and Tazuna had just informed the ninja of it. Kakashi looked to Asuma, who simply shrugged. Sure, why not, declared Kakashi, smiling. Great, we hope to see all of you tonight, said Tazuna, walking away to get ready himself. Well, you heard him, you lot, said Kakashi before he began walking away, letting his genin get ready. Asuma left the genin alone too. Well, Haku-chan, would you like the honor of going to this festival with me? Questioned Sasuke, stepping up to Haku, reaching out to rub her face, only for his wrist to be grabbed. Back off, Uchiha, declared Naruto, growling at the stuck-up snob of a genin. Who are you to answer for her? Snarled Sasuke, glaring at Naruto. He's the person I will be going to the festival with, declared Haku. Naruto cast a backwards sideways glance at the girl before shrugging and glaring once more at the Uchiha, squeezing his wrist. Sasuke shook his hand free and walked away. Fu, Kiba, and Hinata watched the Uchiha leave with narrowed eyes. Naruto meanwhile had turned to Haku with a raised eyebrow. Did you mean what you said? Questioned Naruto, looking at Haku. Yes, you're the only guy I would go to this festival with, said Haku with a small blush on her face, suddenly finding the ground very interesting. Haku, said Naruto. Haku still looked at the ground. Haku, look at me, said Naruto, reaching out and tilting her head up, making her look at him. I'd be happy to go to the festival with you, said Naruto with a smile. Haku blushed and lunged forwards, hugging Naruto. I suppose we should all split and get ready, said Kiba, looking around, getting a nod from all of the genin present. Later that night, Naruto stood in the clearing his team had claimed. He was wearing just his normal outfit, not really having anything else to wear. He had given Fu a white zip-up jumper with a fur collar that she had left unzipped, as she too didn't have much else to wear. Kiba and Hinata were both wearing the same outfits as normal, as they hadn't packed good clothes. Kakashi and Asuma hadn't been seen since they were told about the festival. Choji and Shino, like the rest of the genin, wore their normal outfits. Having not packed anything else, all of the genin minus Sasuke, who had already left, were waiting in the clearing for Haku to show up. The genin looked up when they heard someone approach. They were gobsmacked by what they saw. Haku walked into the clearing, her long ebony hair tied into a bun with a pair of samban keeping it in place. However, two bangs framed her face. However, what shocked all of the ninja was her choice of clothing. She wore a ruby red kimono with lipstick to match, as well as a pair of heels to also match. Keeping the kimono closed was a black obi sash, and tied to the sash was a mask styled to look like a cat. You look beautiful, Haku-chan, said Naruto, stepping forwards, offering the girl a hand. She took his hand with a blush which only deepened when Naruto leant forwards and planted a kiss on the back of her hand. We should probably head off, said Haku, gently pulling her hand back. Naruto nodded and stood back before reaching out and taking her hand in his own. Naruto turned around and everyone had snapped out of their various stupors. Let's go everyone, said Naruto with a grin. The 7 genin walked into the town, Naruto with Haku on one side and Fu on the other. He was watching over the both of them. Once the genin arrived in the village, they all split up, going their own ways except Haku, Naruto, and Fu, who stuck together. Well, at least vaguely. Naruto had many girls from the wave trying to get his attention, be they younger than him or old enough to be his mother. However, Naruto was with Haku for this festival, so he ignored all of them. When Naruto spotted a carnival game, he walked over, leaving Haku and Fu talking by themselves. Naruto walked up to the booth. Yo, hero of the wave, what can I do for you? Questioned the man behind the counter. 3 shots, said Naruto, pulling out the money posted on the back of the carnival game. The guy handed Naruto 3 baseballs. Each bottle is worth 10 points. You knock all of them down, your score is doubled, said the guy. Naruto nodded and tossed the baseball at the 6 stacked bottles, knocking them all down, making man behind the counter sweat slightly. Okay champ, next lot, said the guy, pointing to a second stack of bottles. Once more Naruto knocked all the bottles down, making the guy behind the counter go wide-eyed before once more pointing to the next set of bottles, which Naruto knocked all of them down once more, shocking the guy behind the counter and making him pale. 360 points was enough to get half the stuff in the stand. Relax buddy, I only want the kabutomushi, rhinoceros beetle, and the fox, said Naruto, pointing to a green beetle-looking stuffed animal and a 3-tailed white fox. The stand owner sighed in relief and got Naruto the 2 stuffed animals. Once Naruto had the 2 stuffed animals, he held them behind his back before walking back over to his sister and Haku. Fu, Haku, hold your hands out and close your eyes, said Naruto as he walked forwards. Both girls raised an eyebrow before closing their eyes and putting their hands out as instructed. Naruto put the kabutomushi in Fu's hand before placing the fox in Haku's. Both girls opened their eyes at the same time before their eyes widened. Naruto-kun, said Haku with a smile before she reached forwards and hugged Naruto with a smile and placed a gentle kiss on his cheek. Thank you, said Haku, pulling back. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our ranks, Haku, Fu declared Hiruzen, handing both girls a Konoha headband. Now, Fu, you have been offered a place in the Aburame compound should you choose, said Hiruzen, looking at the girl tying the headband around her upper arm. She turned to the aged Kage and shook her head. No thank you, Hokage-sama, for now I wish to stay close to my Nisan, said Fu, stepping closer to Naruto. Hiruzen nodded. As for you, Haku-san, I could organize an apartment for, said Hiruzen, interrupted by Sasuke. No, that won't be necessary, she will stay with me in the Uchiha compound, declared the Uchiha, only to get punched in the gut. No, she will stay with me too, Hokage-sama, said Naruto, pulling his fist back from Sasuke's gut. Well, alright, for now you two will be assigned to Team 7 until I can find another team to put you with, declared Hiruzen. That works for me, said Haku with a small smile. Me too, stated Fu with a grin. Okay, well then that's settled, dismissed, said Hiruzen, waving both teams away. My team, I'll see you guys at our regular training ground in 2 days. Until then you have off, said Kakashi, getting a nod from Team 7. You lot, same deal, see ya in 2 days, said Asuma before he vanished in a swirl of leaves. Kakashi did the same thing. Sasuke turned to talk with Haku only to see Naruto wrap an arm around the girl as well as wrapping an arm around Fu before all 3 froze and shattered into shards of ice. Sasuke growled and stomped out of the room. He had people he needed to talk with. With Naruto, Haku and Fu. The 3 young ninja appeared outside Naruto and Jiraiya's shared home. Naruto led the 2 around the back where they found Jiraiya sitting in a chair with a book in his hand, writing in it with his notepad on a table next to him. Hey Aji-san, said Naruto, alerting Jiraiya to the boy's presence. Oh Naruto, you're back, and who are these lovely ladies following in my footsteps already? I'm so proud, said Jiraiya, fake crying tears of joy. Hell no, I'm not following in your footsteps, this is Fushiza Jinchuriki, said Naruto, giving Jiraiya a second. So you're being a brother to her? Questioned Jiraiya, getting a nod from Naruto and Fu. And this is Haku, she is my girlfriend, my one and only girlfriend, said Naruto, glaring at Jiraiya. So how did that happen? Questioned Jiraiya. Well, for that we have explained the second mission that we got called on, so. Flashback. Naruto and Haku stood at the back of a now dispersing crowd of people. Tazuna had made a speech about the bridge and the ninja, thanking the Konoha ninja for their help in restoring hope to the wave, and now most people were either going home for the night or going back to the festival. Naruto turned to look at the beautiful Haku, who was looking back at him. They both smiled and looked away from each other. Haku, come with me, said Naruto, walking away from the crowd of people towards the forests of wave. Haku followed the blonde and the 2 walked into the forest. After walking for about 5 minutes, Naruto and Haku found themselves on a hill overlooking the entirety of the land of waves, including the newly finished bridge. Naruto jumped up onto a tree branch. Looking back at Haku, he patted the branch next to him. She jumped up and sat down next to him. I had fun tonight, Naruto-kun, said Haku, leaning on his shoulder. I'm glad you did, said Naruto with a smile, wrapping an arm around the girl, pulling her closer to him. She wrapped both of her arms around him, making him look at her, only for the blonde to be even more surprised when she crashed her lips into his. The blonde blinked, and Haku pulled back. Thank you for tonight, Naruto, I mean it, said Haku with a blush on her face. Haku, would you be my girlfriend? Questioned Naruto. What? Questioned Haku, not sure she heard right. Would you be my girlfriend? Repeated Naruto. Why me? We met a week ago and I was up until 3 days ago your enemy, said Haku. Yes, but you are also beautiful, kind-hearted, gentle, and special to me, said Naruto with a soft smile. Hey, are you sure, Naruto-kun? Questioned Naruto. Naruto gently turned her head so he could press his own lips against hers. Haku's mind went blank for several seconds. Once her mind came around, Naruto's lips had left hers. Yes, Haku-chan, I'm sure, said Naruto with a grin. Flashback end. And that's how this happened, said Naruto, Haku standing next to him, blushing, looking down. They both need a place to stay, began Naruto, trailing off. As I told you when you moved in, this place is as much yours as mine. They can stay if you want, declared Jiraiya. Thanks, Aji-san, said Naruto, smiling, before turning to the girls and smiling to them before leading them inside. Several hours later. Naruto, Haku, and Fu were all sitting around a table eating their dinner, Fu and Haku having claimed a room, and Naruto helped them unpack their stuff. Jiraiya had gone out before they had begun eating to do some early evening research, as he called it. So the three genin were alone, that is, until there was a knock at the door. Naruto got up and walked to the door, opening it to find a cat-masked Anbu on the doorstep. Nico-san, what can I do for you? Questioned Naruto. Yuki-san is to report to the council chambers now, said Nico. Thanks, Nico-san, said Naruto, getting a nod from the Anbu before they vanished in a swirl of leaves. Naruto walked back into the dining room. What was that about? Asked Fu. The council want to see Haku, said Naruto, narrowing his eyes. Well, I should probably go, said Haku, standing up. Let's go then, said Naruto, getting a confused look from Haku and Fu. They said Yuki-san, so there is nothing against me coming, and I know what they're going to say, and I'm probably going to be the only one to be able to stop it. Plus, I just want to fuck off the civilian council, declared Naruto with a grin plastered on his face. Haku just smiled and rolled her eyes before nodding. Don't wait up, Amato will be back soon, said Naruto, smiling to Fu before taking Haku's hand as the two walked out of the house and casually beginning the walk towards the Hokage Tower. 20 minutes later. Where the hell is she? We sent for her 20 minutes ago, declared one of the civilians. Once they finished talking, the doors burst open and in walked Naruto and Haku. Well, what a surprise to see you here. Sasuke's still trying to force Haku to be with you, I see, said Naruto. What the hell are you doing, brat? Yuki-san was specifically requested. Questioned one of the snide civilians. Yeah, that's why I'm here, dumbass. Be specific next time, and given that I'm here, I can disprove you of this notion that you think you're going to marry Haku off to Sasuke, declared Naruto. You have no say in the matter, said one of the civilians. Well, that's where you lot are wrong, said Naruto. No, they're not, Blondie, declared Sasuke, turning to face Naruto and Haku. No, they are, because you see I am on the CRA too, and I am already in a relationship with Haku, which overrules anything you can throw at me and Haku, and just in case you feel the need to try, I as acting head of the Yuki clan would have to agree to the union between Sasuke and Haku, and guess what, you can all burn in hell. Sasuke is the biggest twat I have had the unfortunate displeasure to come across, so I would never allow any of my clan to be married off to him, and as Haku is my first wife on my CRA, you cannot try and force the CRA upon her either, declared Naruto, glaring at Sasuke for his underhanded tactics and at the civilians for actually giving him the opportunity. Oh, and just so you know, the Hokage will be told about this little meeting that occurred behind his back, and I'm just sure he'll be thrilled, said Naruto, turning and taking Haku's hand before walking out of the room. Sasuke grit his teeth, glaring at Naruto as he walked out of the room. Several days later. The 6 members of Team 7 were standing in the mission briefing room waiting to get a mission. Okay, so Team Even, we have catching Tora, painting fences, a member of the council needs someone to watch their child. Oh, there's a supposedly haunted house that needs dealing with, said the Chunin. Oh, that last one sounds good, said Kiba. Ghosts, no thanks, said Naruto, making everyone turn to him. What? Asked the blonde, not understanding what was going on. You believe in ghosts? Questioned Kakashi, looking down at his student. No, I don't believe in ghosts, that implies they aren't real. I know that ghosts are real, declared Naruto. Okay, I'll bite. How? Questioned Fu. Let's just say depending on what type of ghost, they can make excellent trainers, and leave it at that, stated Naruto. Besides, why are we doing these D ranks? Surely there's a couple of C ranks that we could do, supposed Naruto. No, you guys need a break from the C ranks for a while. We'll just take the Totem mission, said Kakashi, only for Naruto to jump out of the window, returning moments later with said cat caged in an ice cage. They're done, said Naruto, putting the cat on the desk. You know, Naruto, the purpose of the D ranks is to build up teamwork, said Kakashi. Yes, I do, but our team, despite being almost double the size of a conventional team, works better than all of the other Genin teams and even some pure Chunin teams, so I see no point in the missions, and I am fairly sure that my teammates feel the same, declared Naruto, making Kakashi look at the 4 other Genin, who nodded to him. Well, let's go for some training then, given you're so desperate not to do D ranks, said Kakashi, leaving the room, the Genin quickly following behind. Later that night, Kakashi stood with the other Jonin in the Hokage's office, and to the shock of those around him, he was actually on time for the meeting and the Hokage had yet to arrive. While everyone was wondering what sort of planetary alignment had to be going on for Kakashi to be there on time, Hiruzen opened the doors and walked in with a pair of ANBU flanking him on either side. Alright everyone, let's get this started. As we all know, the Chunin exams are to be held here this time around, so we need a strong representation of our village's strength, said Hiruzen, taking his seat. So let's begin the nominations, said Hiruzen, looking to the Jonin sensei. I, Kurinai Yuhi, Jonin sensei of Team 8, elect Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka and Sakura Haruno for the Chunin exam, said Kurinai, stepping forwards. Hiruzen noted the names and the entire room broke out into whispers, mostly regarding the fact that a team of rookie Genin had been volunteered. I, Asuma Sarutobi, Jonin sensei of Team 10, nominates Sasuke Uchiha, Shino Abirame and Choji Akimichi for the Chunin exams, declared Asuma, once more making the room burst into whispers while Hiruzen noted the names. I, Kakashi Hataki, Jonin sensei of Team 7, nominate Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Fu Uzumaki as a team of 3 for the Chunin exams, and I also nominate Haku Yuki and Naruto Uzumaki Yuki to take the exams solo, declared Kakashi. What? Screamed out many of the occupants of the room. Naruto, Haku, Fu, Kiba and Hinata stood waiting for Kakashi in their normal training grounds. Naruto had an arm over Haku's shoulder, and she was leaning on his shoulder as they waited. Puff puff puff, I heard puff you were BA puff CKS sensei, so are you puff going to start puff training me now? Questioned tired looking Konohamaru, appearing in front of Naruto. Bugger of brat, how many times do I have to tell you I'm not your freaking sensei, growled Naruto, glaring. Please wheezed the young boy. No, now leave before I freeze you ankles together and leave you hanging from the Hokage monument, said Naruto, glaring at Konohamaru. No, I want you to train me, said the boy. Kori Bunshin no Jutsu, Ice Clone Jutsu, said Naruto, forming a clone. Now fuck off, declared Naruto, pointing to exit to the training ground. Before Konohamaru could say anything, the clone walked up to the boy and covered his mouth and dragging the kid out of the training ground. Good morning, you 5, declared Kakashi, appearing in a swirl of leaves, distracting everyone from Konohamaru. Well, you 5, it's time I told you why I'm really telling you no for the C-rank missions, said Kakashi, pulling out a pile of forms. I knew there was something more to it, declared Kiba, glaring at Kakashi. Chunin exams entrance forms? Questioned Naruto, not even moving from his position, leaning on a tree. Well, aren't you a smarty pants, Naruto, said Kakashi as he handed Naruto and Haku their forms. Now for the Chunin exams, only teams of 3 can compete as teams, however I have nominated 2 of you to take the exams solo, said Kakashi before turning to the 2 lover birds under the tree. You 2 are going to take the exams solo. Out of the 5 of you, you 2 are the strongest, said Kakashi. Naruto and Haku nodded. Now most importantly, this is an individual decision, so none of you have to participate, said Kakashi, getting a nod from the Genin. Should you decide to participate, bring those forms signed to the Academy Room 301 in 3 days, said Kakashi, once more getting a nod from his team. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get to training, said Kakashi, getting a nod from all of his Genin. 3 days later, Academy. Naruto stood alone in front of the academy. He was alone as per an agreement with the other 4 Genin of the same team. They had agreed to not show up together, as they weren't going to work together in the exams, so the lot of them were showing up in their teams, so Naruto was by himself. Haku, if she was going, would be by herself, and Fu, Hinata and Kiba would be together if they were participating. Naruto had decided that if he was going for the Chunin exams, he was either going to fly under the radar and be all stealthy about everything, or be over the top and intimidating, and given the giant sword strapped to his back, he had decided the first option was out. So Naruto walked into the academy, channeling chakra to his eyes so they glowed an ominous icy blue, and at the same time Naruto leaked some of his Ki and Hayatan chakra in a very terrifying combination. Basically everyone stopped and turned to Naruto as he walked into the academy and up the stairs. on the second floor Naruto saw a large group of genin crowded around a room marked on a sign above the door 301. Naruto rolled his eyes and just walked past the semi-cowering genin to add extra emphasis. Naruto pushed enough Hayatan chakra to his feet that the floor froze underfoot as he walked along and up the stairs, completely ignoring the group of genin. On the next floor Naruto walked through the halls towards room 301. The blonde heard a ruckus behind him but moved on, ignoring it. He had a test to get to. Just outside the door Naruto saw Kakashi waiting. "Good luck, Naruto," said Kakashi, getting a nod from the blonde before he opened the door. As soon as Naruto opened the door, he was blasted by some of the weakest Ki he had felt, and he had felt the Ki of a civilian mob chasing him. "Wow, really, that's it for a room full of genin? I expected more," said Naruto with a sigh before he dropped his own Ki in its entirety, opening his eyes wide, tilting his head to the right, and letting a psychotic smirk cross his face while simultaneously lowering the temperature of the room with his Ki. Within seconds, almost all of the genin fell to their knees looking at Naruto terrified. Only a dozen and a half, maybe 2 dozen stood tall against Naruto's Ki. Naruto took note of the ones who stood tall before walking to the corner of the room, letting his Ki drop before slamming his blade into the floor, then jumping up and leaning against the corner of the room while standing on his blade. Naruto just sort of zoned out, not paying attention to anything until a huge cloud of smoke erupted at the front of the room, making Naruto snap back to reality. The blonde watched as the smoke cleared and saw a heavily scared man standing at the front of everyone. "All right, sit down and shut up, maggot," said the man. "My name is Ibiki Marino, and I am the proctor for the first exams," declared the man. "Now there is to be no attacking each other unless given permission by one of the proctors, and never using lethal force," ordered Ibiki. "Sorry, this is our first time, we're a little nervous," said a voice from the crowd of ninja. Naruto's head snapped in the direction of the voice, having recognized it, but he couldn't see the owner of the voice as he was hidden behind a large group of people. "Now everyone come up here and grab a tab and a test. The tab indicates your seat. Once you find your seat, sit down and shut up," declared Ibiki. Naruto waited until most people had their stuff before going up himself. He ended up next to some random aimed genin who was terrified. "All right, shut up, I'm going to be explaining the rules. There will be no questions, so listen closely," ordered Ibiki. "You will each start with 10 points, and you will lose 1 point for each wrong answer. You will also lose 2 points if you are caught cheating. Also, you pass and fail as a team. Should your points reach 0, you and your teammates will be asked to leave. You will be given an hour to answer the 9 questions on the sheet, and then after that a 10th question will be asked. And just so there is no cheating, my friends here will be watching as you take your tests," declared Ibiki before turning around to see lots of terrified genin, just what he wanted to see. "Your hour begins now," declared Ibiki, and with that said everyone turned over and began their tests. An hour later. "All right, everyone, pencils down, and get ready for the last question. However, before we begin, there are a few additional rules for this question," declared Ibiki. "First of all, this question is one you can elect to take or not," said Ibiki. "What happens if we don't?" came the voice of a random genin. "Well, you fail, of course," declared Ibiki with a smirk. "What the hell, of course we'll take the question," yelled out another random genin. "You didn't let me finish. Should you take the question and fail, you will never be able to participate in the Chunin exams again," said Ibiki ominously with an evil grin plastered on his face. And like that, almost everyone began to pale and people began dropping out. That is, until snoring was heard through the room. Ibiki walked towards the snoring, his face calling for bloody murder. "Blondie, wake up," yelled Ibiki, slapping Naruto on the back of the head, knocking him out of his seat. "Ah, what the hell, man?" questioned Naruto, glaring up at Ibiki. "Did you not hear the rules for the 10th question?" questioned Ibiki. "Yeah, I did, but given their bullshit I thought I'd take a nap," said Naruto, standing up and taking his seat. "What did you say, brat?" questioned Ibiki. "Those rules are bull. No one in the elemental nations, not even the Kage, can ban people participating in the Chunin exams. This test has been about info gathering up until now, where it's become about the willingness to lead in a no-win situation, which I have, and besides, even if I am banned from this stupid tournament, I could always get a promotion in the field," said Naruto calmly before kicking back in his chair. Ibiki looked around the room and saw that people were beginning to grow a backbone. "Well, that backfired," thought Ibiki to himself as he walked back to the front. "Is there anyone else who would like to drop out now?" questioned Ibiki. When no one else raised their hands, he sighed. "All right, you lot," growled Ibiki in last-ditched attempt. "Pass," said Ibiki. Before anyone could make a comment, a bundle came flying through the window before it unfurled and was pinned to the ceiling and floor by 4 kunai. It turned out to be a banner. "Enko early," said Ibiki, stepping out from behind the banner. It was at this point that Naruto got a good look at the woman in front of the banner. "Well, it's good to see she's so hyperactive," thought Naruto as he watched the woman he had removed the curse mark from the day he became a genin. 74? You let 74 pass. You're going soft, man, said Anko, looking back at Ibiki. Maybe we just have a stronger group this year, Anko, said Ibiki to the purple-haired woman. Well, it doesn't matter, there'll be less than half once I'm done with them, said Anko with an ominous grin. Alright, you lot, no time to celebrate, meet me at training ground 44 in 5 minutes, or you fail, said Anko, vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Naruto followed suit and froze before shattering, revealing nothing left behind. Forest of Death. 5 minutes later. Naruto stood leaning against the fence as the last of the prospective Chunin showed up. Alright, brats, I'm Anko Mitarashi, the proctor of the second exam. Now, while I explain what the exam is, some Chunin will be coming around with a form you have to sign before you can participate, said Anko as several Chunin began walking around handing out sheets of paper. Alright, this test is a survival exercise. You will each be given one of these scrolls, either a heaven or an earth scroll, and the goal is to get the other scroll and make it to the tower in the middle of this lovely forest behind me, lovingly called the Forest of Death, said Anko, stopping when she heard muttering. I've seen scarier, muttered Naruto under his breath, only for a kunai to be thrown at him, only for him to catch it by the ring mere millimeters from his forehead. Anko, who appeared behind him, had semi-wide eyes. While she hadn't been her fastest speed, he shouldn't have been able to catch that. It's ones with attitudes like that which die first, said Anko with a smirk, pulling the kunai out of Naruto's hand. I bet they all just get distracted by your beauty, said Naruto, smirking as he saw the blush on Anko's face. Anko just jumped back to her previous position on the fence, trying to rid herself of the blush. Now you have to sign the forms which clears us of any wrongdoing should you die in there, which, trust me, some of you will, if not by the plants and animals then by each other, as you need to have one of each type of scroll at the tower in 5 days. Now about the scrolls, you can't open them until you make it to the tower, said Anko. So hop to it, fill out the forms, and then bring your team's forms up and exchange them for your scrolls, said Anko. Naruto stood by himself outside one of the gates of the Forest of Death, waiting for them to open. Just one last piece of advice, came Anko's voice over a set of loudspeakers. Don't die, said Anko before the gates were flung open. Naruto casually walked through the gates, pulling his bow off his back before jumping up into the lower branches of the trees of the forest. Alright, Naruto-kun, do you have a plan? Asked Akane from within Naruto's mind. Yes, spend a day in the forest kicking people's asses and then making sure I have both scrolls before then heading to the tower, replied Naruto before he ran off in a random direction with his bow and arrows at the ready. Several hours later. Naruto was tree hopping when he heard a high-pitched scream. Naruto stopped dead on the tree branch before taking off for the scream. Running through the trees, Naruto burst from the tree line to find a trio of AIM ninja standing over 2 dead Kusa ninja and 1 alive red-haired girl who had torn clothes and was more than likely the one who screamed. Naruto, she is without a doubt Uzumaki, said Akane. Doesn't matter, was going to save her anyway, muttered Naruto, notching a trio of arrows, 1 for each of the AIM nin skulls. But before Naruto could attack the nin, one of the nin turned to him. You guys, we got company, said the nin, before his 2 comrades turned and also saw Naruto, who let his arrows fly. Only one of the 3 hit its mark and the nin fell over dead, while the other 2 glared at Naruto. Oh, you're dead now, buddy, declared one of the nin. Naruto put his bow on his back before dropping from the tree branch, landing in a crouch as the ground beneath him buckled as he landed. Is that so? Questioned Naruto, pulling his blade off his back. A scary big-ass sword, you compensating for something, mocked one of the 2 remaining nin before both burst out laughing. Naruto just stood there before a mist was pulled in around them, and the 2 AIM nin stopped laughing. I thought he was a Konoha nin, said the one of the AIM nin. I'm sure his headband was a Konoha one, said the other. It is, but I am Naruto Uzumaki, the legacy and second coming of the monster of the mist, declared Naruto's disembodied voice from within the mist. Now, like that shit stain, I could simply kill you, but you were going to rape my cousin, so I'm going to kill you slowly and painfully, said Naruto. What are you going to do, Blondie? Taunted one of the nin. Hayatan Shimobirisu, ice-style frost breath, called Naruto, breathing a cloud of ice at the 2 nin. Both jumped out of the way, however both were caught a little bit by the frost breath, their feet both getting caught in the cloud. Naruto appeared from the fog and slammed the side of his blade into both nin, before vanishing back into the mist. Son of Aug, one of the 2 AIM nin, only interrupted when Naruto kicked him in the chin, knocking him to the ground, and before he could even move, 2 pairs of arrows pierced each of limbs, and he began screaming, only for Naruto to once more appear from the fog, only to slam his feet on the nin's face, crushing the man's skull. You bastard, yelled the last nin, only for an arrow to nail him right between the eyes. The mist cleared as the last AIM nin fell to the ground. PP please DD.H hurt me, said the red-haired girl, backing away from Naruto. Hey, I promise I won't hurt you, what's your name? Asked Naruto, bending down so the 2 were at eye level. KK Karen Yu Uzumaki, said Karen, still terrified of the man in front of her. Karen, hey, I'm Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki Yuki, said Naruto with a smile towards the terrified girl. Her eyes widened. Yu Uzumaki? Questioned Karen, her eyes wide. Naruto nodded, only to be tackled by a red blur. Hey, it's okay, Karen, said Naruto, gently rubbing her back. Family, that's all I have ever wanted ever since my mother died, muttered Karen against Naruto's chest. Then stay here, I can offer you asylum here in Konoha. Stay with me, Amato, said Naruto, making Karen. Nisan, said Karen, hugging him. Naruto himself just hugged the girl while silently creating a clone to find the scrolls. After several moments of searching, the clone returned with a heaven and earth scroll to match the earth one he already had. Alright, Amato, we need to move, I still have an exam to pass, said Naruto. But you're by yourself? Said Karen. Yes, but that's how I entered, I'm taking the exams solo, said Naruto. Oh, okay, said Karen, getting up. Naruto held Karen's hand and the two jumped into the trees and began to run. After a couple of minutes of running, Naruto stopped and knelt down in front of Karen. Hop on, it'll be quicker, said Naruto. Karen nodded before climbing onto Naruto's back. Naruto stood up and began to run through the trees. So Nisan? Began Karen, getting a nod from Naruto to indicating he was listening. How did you use that Kirigakure no jutsu, hidden miss jutsu? I thought only ninja from Kirigakure could use that jutsu. Questioned Karen, her chin resting on his shoulder. I spent 6 years training away from Konoha under many different sensei, one of whom was a former Kirin and a former member of the Seven Swordsmen, said Naruto. Karen nodded. Who else did you train under? Questioned Karen. Not really something I want to get into right now, said Naruto, getting a nod from Karen. Naruto then spotted a trio of Kusa-nin wandering around on the forest floor. Those bastards, growled Karen. You know them? Questioned Naruto. They picked on me relentlessly because of my red hair, said Karen, glaring at her hair. Naruto put her down. Well, then it looks like it's time for these bastards to learn what it is to cross my family, said Naruto, dropping from the forest floor. What assholes, back here, yelled Naruto, pulling out his bow. And who the hell are you? Questioned one of the nin, glaring back at Naruto. The big brother of the woman you teased for her hair color, declared Naruto, pulling out a trio of arrows and notching all three. You're such an idiot, there's 3 of us and only one of you, declared the obvious leader. Well, that is true, but perhaps you miscounted, said Naruto, letting all 3 arrows fly at the weakest link of the team of 3. All 3 arrows hit their mark 3 spots up in a straight line up and down the chest. Hayatan Hiryu no Jutsu, Ice-style Ice Dragon Jutsu, called Naruto, a dragon forming out of ice and flying at the other member of the trio of Kusa-nin. The guy tried to jump out of the way only for the dragon to follow him, swallowing him whole before smashing apart, revealing the man perfectly encased in ice. Because I only count 1, said Naruto, glaring at the man who by now was looking terrified. What are you? Questioned the man. I'm your death, declared Naruto, ripping the huge sword off his back before running forwards and slicing the man from his left hip to his right shoulder. That was for Karen, declared Naruto, looking down before looking for the scroll, finding a heaven one. Naruto jumped back up to Karen, once again leaning down so she could hop onto his back. Once she was on again, Naruto took off, heading in the general direction of the tower. After a few moments, Naruto stopped dead on a tree branch. What is it? Asked Karen. I'm going to need you to go with my clone, said Naruto before flipping through hand signs. Why? Questioned Karen. Because I need to go and see some people who might not be nice to you even with me, said Naruto as the water in the air around him formed a clone which took Karen's hand. Don't worry, he will take you to the tower where you'll be safe, said Naruto with a reassuring smile. Karen nodded and jumped away with the clone. Naruto himself turned to the west and began tree hopping. Within moments, Naruto stopped and dropped to his knees to hide as he watched 3 people wander aimlessly around the forest looking vaguely lost. Naruto stepped off the branch and fell to the ground. Landing in a crouch with a loud thud, he looked at the 3 surprised people in front of him. And Naruto? Questioned the black-haired girl among them. Hey you lot, said Naruto, standing up. Naruto, yelled the girl, running forwards and tackling Naruto to the ground. Hey Kin, how are you? Questioned Naruto, only for the now crying girl to punch him in the chest. He said you were dead, he swore to us you were dead, where were you? Questioned Kin, punching Naruto in the chest while the other 2 members of the team settled for glaring at the blonde. I'm sorry guys, but it was beyond time for me to move out. I only stayed so long to secure your freedom from the more deadly of his experiments, said Naruto. Why now, Naruto? Why show yourself now? Questioned a borderline mummified genin, looking at Naruto, shaking his hands around. Because I needed to speak with you, preferably without him around, said Naruto. About what? Questioned the mummified genin. You leaving Ato and joining Konoha, said Naruto as Kin pushed herself off Naruto. Naruto, you can't be serious. We work for one of Konoha's biggest traders. Why would they simply just let us join Konoha's ranks? Asked the last of the genin. I'm perfectly serious, Zaku, and I am, because if you agree to reveal what you know about that snake, I can offer you asylum here in Konoha under the protection of my clan, and even Orochimaru isn't stupid enough to attack a whole village for 3 genin, said Naruto. Naruto, he began. Zaku. He already plans to attack Konoha. Yes, I know you underestimate me, Zaku. I still have spies in that village, said Naruto with a smirk. So why do you need us? Surely your spy can provide all of the information you need, said the mummified genin. I don't need you 3 for anything, Dosu. I want you 3 here because you are my friends and some of the very few decent people of Ato, said Naruto, giving his mummified friend a deadpan look. All 3 of the Ato genin thought for a moment before looking back at Naruto. What do we have to do? Asked Kin. What scroll do you guys have? Asked Naruto. We have an earth one. Why? Asked Zaku. Naruto reached into his pouch and pulled out a heaven scroll and tossed it to Dosu. Get to the tower as soon as possible and stay safe, you 3, said Naruto, getting a nod from all 3 before he froze and shattered into shards of ice. The next day, Naruto walked into the tower. It was relatively early morning and Naruto had woken up not an hour ago and finished his trek to the tower. Oh, Haku-chan, hey, said Naruto, noticing his girlfriend standing just in front of him. Morning, Naruto-kun, said Haku, as she turned around, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. I see the forest was no trouble for you, said Naruto, stepping up to her, throwing an arm over her shoulder. Not at all. What about you, Naruto-kun? Questioned Haku, kissing Naruto's cheek. Kinda boring, actually, declared the blonde. Naruto was laying back on his bed doing nothing, simply waiting for time to pass. He had got into the tower 2 days ago, and he still had 2 to wait, and he wasn't allowed to leave or he'd be disqualified, and that he didn't want that. Knock, knock, knock. Then came a knock at his door. Naruto, not expecting anyone, got up and walked over to the door, before opening it. Hello, Naruto-kun, may I come in? Asked a voice from the now open doorway. Well, I don't really have a choice in that now, do I? Asked Naruto. Quite so, said the person walking into the room, Naruto closing the door behind him. So what can I do for you, sensei? Questioned Naruto, sarcastically calling the man sensei. Oh, nothing, Naruto-kun, I just came to see how my favorite student is, said Orochimaru. Your favorite student now? I thought that position was taken by Kabuto. How is that pet of yours? Asked Naruto, narrowing his eyes at the pale man. Now, Naruto, that's not what I want to talk about, said Orochimaru. Oh, what do you want to talk about? The fact you want the Uchiha for his Sharingan? Or maybe the invasion you have planned? Asked Naruto. You seem to know a lot of my plan, Naruto-kun. Maybe I should kill you and be done with this, said Orochimaru, narrowing his eyes at the blonde. Oh, you wouldn't want to do that. I have seals placed around this room that record chakra signatures that come and go, that only I and the Hokage know where they are. You kill me and he knows you're here sooner than you plan, said Naruto with a smirk, making Orochimaru narrow his eyes. Trap making, sensei, I learned from the best, said Naruto with a smirk. Orochimaru glared at the blonde and his compliment. I never should have taken you as my student, declared the snake man. Well then, you and your curse mark and some of your other experiments would be so far behind, sensei, said Naruto with a smirk. Oh wait, there aren't they? That's right, I forgot I left you with those parting gifts, said Naruto with a smirk. Those tags took out years' worth of research, you little brat, snarled Orochimaru. Yes, and unless you want Iwa, Kumo, and Kuri finding out about what you stole from them, you will leave me alone the length of your stay, said Naruto with a smirk. Orochimaru went to speak but settled for glaring at Naruto. Now I think it's about time you left, sensei, said Naruto, walking to the door. You win this round, brat, but I assure you I will win in the long term, said Orochimaru, his voice fading as he sunk into the floor. 2 days later, Naruto stood with the rest of the passing genin, all of 23 of them. Alright, you lot, I would like to congratulate every one of you for passing the second stage of the Chunin exams. However, I must disappoint all of you by informing you that there are still too many of you in the competition, declared Hiruzen. Please cough, cough, Hokage-sama, allow me, asked the sickly-looking jonin appealing next to the aged Kage, getting a nod from the man. Hello everyone, I am Hate Gecko the proctor for the third exams, and as Hokage-sama said, there is still too many of you here, so we must have a preliminary round so if any of you feel you cannot continue, please say so now. And keep in mind that from here asterisk on these exams are no longer a team effort, said now identified Hate. I don't think I can go on anymore, said a white-haired Konoha nin, raising his hand. Hate noted the name down before nodding to the boy who turned around and left. Naruto narrowed his eyes as Kabuto left. He would have to inform Hokage-sama of Kabuto's true allegiance soon. Anyone else? Asked Hate. When no other hands were raised, the man turned around and a panel rose upwards, revealing a giant screen. This screen will display the random matchups that these preliminaries will consist of. The matchups could be 1v 1 or 2v2 You may be paired up with your best friend, your greatest enemy, or someone you may not know, declared Hate before names flashed on screen quickly, and an instant later 4 names flashed up onto the screen. Could all bar Naruto Uzumaki Dosa Kinta Yoroi Akado and Misumi Tsurugi please head up to the second level? Asked Hate before everyone but those mentioned walked up the stairs. Well, this is interesting, said Misumi. This'll be an easy win, declared Yoroi. Dosu glared at the man and was about to rush him when a hand landed on his shoulder. He's baiting you, Dosu, don't fall for it, said Naruto. Dosu turned his head so he was looking at Naruto out of the corner of his eye and nodded. Well, this should be fun. It has been a while since we fought side by side. Hey Naruto, said Dosu, turning to the blonde, who smirked as his left hand became covered by an icy mist just as Dosu's right hand began to hum. Everyone else in the room had wide eyes from Dosu's comment, excluding Kin, Zaku, their sensei, and Hiruzen. Well, it looks like both parties are ready, said Hate, recovering from his shock. Begin, called the Jonin, jumping away as all 4 of the genin ran at each other. Dosu and Naruto ran side by side at the 2 Konoha nin. Naruto ran at Misumi and threw his clawed right hand forwards towards the genin, who bent in seemingly inhuman ways, avoiding the strike. Dosu was having the same luck with Yora throwing his hand forwards only for the opposing genin to jump to the side only to then slam his hand into Dosu's chest. What the? You're stealing my chakra, said Dosu, doubling over as his chakra was sucked out of him. Naruto, seeing this, threw his other hand forwards, slamming it into Misumi's head before driving his head into the ground. Naruto diving into a handstand where the blonde performed a split kick, slamming Yoroi's face, kicking him away from Naruto's temporary teammate. Naruto then flipped over off of Misumi's face, spinning in the air, landing on his feet facing back to Dosu and Misumi. Naruto pulled his bow off his back before spinning around, avoiding a kunai thrown by Misumi before notching and firing an arrow at Yoroi, who jumped back to avoid the arrow which impacted the ground. You miss *BOM, began Yoroi, only to be thrown back by an explosion originating from the arrowhead. Yoroi landed on his back. Naruto was about to move to avoid the more than likely attack from Misumi, only for an arm to wrap itself around his arm, and before Naruto could react he found all of his limbs and his neck wrapped up by Misumi. You so much as move, boy, I snap your neck, declared Misumi. Dosu, a hand, called Naruto, and before Misumi could make good on his promise, Dosu slammed his hand into Misumi's head, and the gauntlet on his arm began vibrating, making Misumi let go of Naruto, as he shook violently, and fell to the ground.